Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 306. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jim. I promise you this isn't an act, so says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, and the Duke of You-Know. That'll make more sense.
How's it going,
That'll make more sense in our voicemail segment when we get there. This episode, we begin a discussion starting to take a look at the second wave of DC Universe books, including Smallville. We talk about issue number 1 of season 11, Dial H for Hero, number 1, or just Dial H, I should say, number 1, and Earth 2, number 1. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Supporting us, as always, is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, Earth 2, which we're talking about in this episode, issue number 3 is being solicited. $2.99 regularly, 40% off, only $1.79. You can also get the variant edition for $12. For anybody that likes to collect variant covers and things like that, one of the advantages of pre-ordering the variant edition is that you're guaranteed to get it in your delivery box every month. DCB Service does a great job bag and boarding it, so you get one that looks fresh, brand new, untouched, right from DCBService.com. So definitely check out their website for all the great and amazing deals on your pre-orders. Remember, they're a Comixology digital partner. They also have their own DCB Service digital store, so it's a great opportunity for you to earn an extra 5% off their already low discounted price just from doing digital shopping right on their website. It doesn't cost you any more to shop digitally that way, but it adds to your discount. So if you're doing any digital issue shopping, make sure to do it over at DCBService.com. Over at InStockTrades.com, you want to check out the Green Lantern Sinestro hardcover, Volume 1. This collects the first 6 issues of the new Green Lantern series. It's regularly $22.99, 50% off only $11.49. This is their deal of the week. And they're doing regular deals of the week over at InStockTrades.com, so make sure to go over to their website and check it out and see what amazing deals they have. I'm looking at like their number 1 seller right now is the Noon Teen Titans Omnibus hardcover. It's 45% off, only $41.25. You know, if you're looking to gather up a bunch of great material from InStockTrades.com, hardcovers or omnibuses or trade paperbacks that you've been looking to get, remember, you get that $50 or more, you get free shipping too. And with, 40 and 50% off of hardcovers and trades and things like that and more, depending on if they have a great clearance section as well. I can't recommend In-Stock Trades enough. So I want to thank DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com for supporting our show. Oh, James, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in depth in the plot line, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on the show. So, if you haven't read the books, oh boy, I'm messing this one up really bad, aren't I? But I'm going to keep powering through because that's what I do. I'm just going to butcher this and have some fun with it. Oh well. But if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
I would have started it over again if you really wanted me to. Let's talk some comics.
You filthy criminals.
Jim, for our first chat this episode, I want to talk about Smallville Season 11, Number 1. The writer is Brian Q. Miller, the art by Pere Perez, colors by Randy Mayer, lettering by Saidatemofonte, because I'm not going to butcher that, cover art by Kat Staggs, assistant editor is Sarah Litt, and the editor is Kwanzaa Johnson. Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And apologies if there's anybody else that I butchered your name. This, for me, was interesting. I'm guessing you and I purchased this. I know you and I purchased this in different ways. I did the digital just because I thought it'd be fun on the show to talk about the different experiences. So the first issue for me was released in 3 chapters. How did you, you obviously got the single issue of it. What did you think? What was your impression on the first issue of Smallville? This is our first, episode, so to speak, of the TV series as a comic book.
Dude, I was glad for it. I definitely picked it up as the single issue and just, when it came out, when the full thing, issue 1 came out, and I was really excited for it. And for me, it's lived up to the hype that I wanted. It is a continuation of the story, and I'm digging the fact that they're going a little bit more superhero-y. It's less about, we still get the story of Lois and Clark and all the characters that they developed over the TV show, but we are getting some Superman moments. Before it was Smallville, it was Clark Kent, it was the birth of Superman, it was building to it. Now he is Superman. Now he's flying in space and repairing, Russian space stations and doing all Superman-y type stuff. So yeah, definitely was very happy with this.
What I love, though, is agreeing 100% with everything you're saying. It's a logical progression, though, from where the TV series has gone. Like, I love that there's the right beats of the characters making appearances, Lex Luthor, and Lex acknowledging that there was a past history between him and Clark, which we'll talk about when we get to it. Green Arrow and Chloe, Lois Lane, and it's clear by the way they're being written by Brian Q. Miller in this, these are the same characters from the television show. Amen with everything you said. I love seeing this Superman finally going in space. Let's jump into talking to him about Superman, seeing him in his costume for the first time. Because in that last TV series, they did that cool CGI stuff, which I really enjoyed, and it was kind of a cool way of saying, let's not do anything too cheesy with the costume on television. Let's make sure everybody knows it's the Superman suit. Let's not get too crazy definitive with it, because we don't want to get that factor where people are let down by the overall look. I thought the CG usage in TV worked great. I love that the comic acknowledged the fact that this suit that he's wearing now is a different suit from that episode of the TV show. And I love the reason why. The fact that this is a Clark Kent that has taken lead bullets kryptonite bullets, and that there's the lead over the heart. I thought that was just such a great moment. I love the costume, though. What were your thoughts?
Oh, dude, I definitely digged it. It's got enough of the classic Superman look and feel to it, but there is a personalization for the comic. This isn't, they didn't completely butcher it. They didn't throw it out the window. They made tweaks. They made their own personal styling to it. And I'm definitely 100% comfortable with it, partially because this is its own universe. This is its own existence, and there's going to be deviations. I've always said, Smallville to me is one of the alternate Earths, and we may never find out, it may never be specifically assigned to a number, but for me, this is, okay, it's a variance, it's allowed, and I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not in a mad dash for it to be named or labeled as any particular alternate Earth. It's Elseworlds for me, and I'm fine with it just staying there and having its own little thing going on. To me, if it's a well-crafted, contained universe and it just stays that way, I'll be a happy camper. Because I wanted to see the continuing adventures of these characters, these people that for 10 seasons I fell in love with, the great portrayals of these characters. So I love that it doesn't feel like we're trying to force the Smallville universe into the DC universe. We're letting it just stay Smallville, Yeah. And I think that's important. It feels right. This is what I wanted. I wanted this to be like Dark Horse's excellent Buffy comic.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it has. And you can't say it's like that, but there is that styling to it. Feel.
Let me clarify that. What I like about Dark Horse's Buffy comic is it's had 2 seasons now. And the idea behind it, the premise behind it, is it's continuing off the TV series. And it's really structured in a way that it feels like the television show Buffy did. It doesn't feel like the Buffy comic. It feels like Smallville. It's keeping the theme of the television series versus trying to force it into being a comic book format that just doesn't make any sense for the television show. That's what I meant where it feels like Buffy. The Buffy comic, I think, is so great because to me it feels right like the television series.
Exactly. I got to co-sign completely on just the comparison and the analogy and just, it's, as I said, it's that feel. Yeah, I get that same, when I read the Buffy comic, I get the same feel of the TV show. When I read this, I get the same feel that I got when I was watching the TV show. There's a great just synergy, if you will, or, continuation, flow, whatever terminology you wish to use. I have that progression right into the comic. The characters are in a really groovy spot for me. And it's, again, I was so glad to see the strong supporting cast usage. It's not just Lois and Clark. It's not just, Superman versus Lex Luthor. We are seeing everybody, and there's going to be some building, there's going to be some growing, and there's going to be some development of new characters, new villains, new forces for Superman to deal with.
We got Otis.
I was kind of surprised to see Otis there. I'll be honest with you, because I never knew Otis from anything other than the movies. So when he was there, I was like, oh, okay, Lotus from the Superman movies, and because he was never even hinted at in the TV show.
Well, but I guess what they're showing right now is this is not, because of Lex returning, so to speak, this is a Lex that's had 6 months now. Remember, 6 months have passed since the TV series. So Lex has had some time to establish himself. So Otis is now a new person working for him. Remember, anybody who worked with Lex before, most of those people worked for Tess or were associated with Tess because Tess was running the show. Remember, Lex came back and took over from Tess.
Right.
He basically would need a new regime because, remember, things didn't go so well with Tess, and he certainly has different ideas than what Tess... Tess was clearly trying to do something very different than what Lex is going to be doing.
Yeah, we're definitely getting the bad guy Lex Luthor, but it's not just the pure evil Lex Luthor or the crazy Joker Lex Luthor. This is that same Lex Luthor where he's doing what he thinks is right, and it just happens that he is the best thing for the universe. They should just bow down and follow his rule and accept that because he is helping them. And I liked always that sort of styling to Lex. He's going to kill people. He doesn't have a problem killing people, but it's not killing for the enjoyment of killing. It's killing to further on his goal. It's killing for a purpose, killing for an ideology or just a general growth. And I like seeing that, and I still get that same feeling, from the TV show. I loved Lex Luthor in the TV show, and I thought it was just an absolute wonderful portrayal of Luthor. Again, continuation of that, still seeing some good glimpses of the Lex that I enjoyed in these couple pages.
It's kind of funny with Lex not having his memory of that relationship with Superman thanks to Tess. He's got that obsession again, though, with Superman. It's a different way now. Before it was Clark, the guy who saved him. And that moment, that pivotal moment of Clark saving him, set Lex on a different path where he was trying to be friends with this guy, trying to be the confidant, trying to be the brother almost, so to speak, of Clark. His upbringing and circumstances, the Lex's story on Smallville became a very tragic story. You couldn't help but feel, it was funny, he was one of those characters that you wanted to see him wind up here, but yet you didn't at the same time. And I loved Michael Rosenbaum's portrayal of him because of that. Seeing him now be the one, and I thought it was so appropriate that he was the one before we even saw Superman in his suit to say his suit's changed. It was great that we got that from Lex's perspective without seeing the visual first, just to see that obsession is there. It's a new one, but it's still something that's ingrained in him. It's a personality trait. When he sees something fantastic like this, now obviously his perspective is going to be very, very different on it than it was before. But it's something I just thought it was very interesting to see that is something that it was a theme in Smallville all along, and now it's taken a different twist and turn because this is a very different Lex.
And the fact that he's noticing the suit differences, but we're not seeing Clark standing still. He's moving at super speeds. He's doing what he's doing, and it's still Lex is studying him. And it is that meticulous nature of Lex Luthor to notice those things, to comment on that, to think about it. And you can tell in his mind he's going through, okay, why did he change it? What did he change? What's the benefit behind it? Where is this tweaking? What's the modifications? And my guess is that Lex is probably going to figure out the armoring around the heart, the protections, or even just make notations as to why it's different in different circumstances. That's just who he is. It goes beyond just a study obsession. There's got to be a logical explanation behind it. There has to be a reasoning behind it. And I think he knows Superman so well, or he's obsessed and studied Superman so well that he knows Clark wouldn't just change the costume just to change it. There's a reasoning behind it, and he's going to figure it out.
I like the whole Russian space platform bit, and I loved how that rift opened up. Here's the funny part, and it probably read very different for you the first time reading through, because I read it in 3 separate chapters. That rift part, I had to go, when Chloe talks about it later, I had to go back and look at the first chapter to see this rift, because I didn't remember it being that way. Because I think I was so focused on the fact, okay, they got in some kind of issue where their cabin's depressurized, and Superman had to come in and save the day. I really enjoyed this whole bit, though, because I loved, first of all, I love the majestic Superman. I love seeing that whole visual look of him. I loved seeing the fact that they acknowledged that they're going to be speaking Russian out there. And Clark saying he hasn't had a chance to learn Russian yet. But that would be something he wants to do because he considers himself, and that's something I really thought was great, he considers himself someone that has a responsibility to learn as many languages as possible to interact with people on a global level. Which, at least that's how I took that. Were you taking that the same way, that like his response was kind of his way of saying that, or am I reading too much into that?
No, I had the same kind of feel to you as you're coming across. And it's funny, I was sitting there, I'm nodding my head going, oh yeah, Jim, this isn't a visual podcast. Speak right now. And that was a cool moment for me because it brought me back to, I can't remember which movie it was. It was where, and he does exactly, where it was a Christopher Reeve Superman movie where he rescues the Russian cosmonauts, and he does speak Russian to them, and he, tells them to be careful or have a nice day or says something, but he did say it in, Russian to him, and I thought that was a cool moment that Superman does learn the languages, and the fact that this Superman's acknowledging, hey, I don't know it yet, but I'm going, it's that, intergalactic, truth, justice, and American way isn't just about American politics. This is about, doing the right thing, about stepping up when needed. And that's always been the underlining, thought process behind Clark. He's a Kansas farm boy, but it's not an American, patriot doing, following American politics. No, it's following what always made this country so great, what made people hardworking, dedicated, people who want to reach out and help when they can, and you see that and that's what his Superman ideology is going to be. And that was a cool moment for me. I was kind of like, yeah, geek out moment for me.
I love the whole autograph thing, and it's funny. My second read through, I read all three parts together, in preparation for this conversation, and my second read through, I took it. I was laughing at it in a very different way. But the first time through, I loved the humbleness, of Superman, because I do think that should be an inherent trait of, at least to me, that was. I don't know if our Superman in the New 52 is the same way because of the world that he currently lives in. Especially with the feelings of aliens in the New 52. I don't know if our Superman is as humble. I don't know if circumstances is allowing him to be. I do feel that he's genuinely a good guy. I've loved the story portrayals of him, so I'm not knocking our current Superman. It's just I don't think we've had enough storytelling to know how much he relates to this type of Superman.
Keep dissing Superman like this, I'm going to go medieval on you, just so you know.
I'm not dissing Superman at all. You know what I mean? It's environment.
I'm at the point of rage.
I'm making a point, you dolt. But it was something that I really enjoyed in this, because in Clark's world, especially with the fact that we got to see so much nurturing by the Kents and those close to him, also got to see this Clark's mistakes along the way. I just felt like this was really the kind of response that you would expect from the Tom Welling Superman. And I just thought it was really well done, really great. And then there's that funny part of me where it came back, very similar to what you're doing right now with your joking around with it, where I'm sitting here, I'm like, now if I'm the guy that he's telling that I'm a hero because I'm a cosmonaut, I'm still going to say, well, that's great and all, Superman, but can I have my autograph? I still want the autograph, right? I mean, right?
Oh, big time. Especially if this guy's not doing a lot of signings, man. That's worth money.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're eBaying it. Now, the cliffhanger for me in the first issue was that I'm just doing my job, where he's flying over the water.
Oh, okay.
That's where it says to be continued, which is a nice logical break, right? I thought it was good pacing. It's interesting, and I would love to know what it's like for a creator to craft an issue where you're releasing it logically as a print issue, but at the same time you want digital breaks in there that make sense. I'm a fan of this kind of thing with digital and print, where they're experimenting with different ways of releasing to like try to cross promote each other. And I hope to see more of that, where you're seeing like these exclusives digitally that become print versions, because we're seeing a lot of that with the like Arkham Unhinged and stuff like that. They're being released in print as well, and that Justice League Beyond and Batman Beyond stuff, they're doing that as well. I'm a fan of that. I think you don't want to alienate either group of fans, and I think we want to bring a connectability. I think that's good for comic shops. I think it's good to bring new readers into comic shops or lapsed readers into comic shops when you do these kind of connectability things where there are paper versions available. You're able to bring people in for free comic book day. You're able to do stuff like that. So I'm hoping retailers somehow on the digital end are noticing some kind of benefit to this where it is bringing in a new reader. I liked this delivery for this. I thought it was really kind of a cool way to go about it. I got it this way as an experiment just to kind of see what it was like, and I really enjoyed that. So when he goes into the whole like toothbrush segment, that's actually the beginning of the second issue for me.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that was reading it normally, just there was nothing weird or unusual. I thought, especially because they ended it on a full page spread of him flying, just doing my job. That was a great artistic moment, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you flip the page, boom, right into the continuation. There was no, it wasn't just jumbled or anything. It wasn't messed up. It normal flow through, and I was cracking up with this, toothbrush scene and just everything. And again, this was a moment that really felt like the TV show for me, especially the Lois moments where she won't admit she broke the sink. And she's like, I still say it's a super spit that broke it. I thought that whole line, I could hear her voice. I could hear the actress's voice. I can hear Tom Welling's voice. And it was just, again, I was completely back in the TV show. And I was like, yay!
Yeah, you know what? It also just made me realize how much I love the relationship of Lois and Clark. The whole, where she shook the boxes and knew what was inside them, that one was a food processor. Even though Clark, with his X-ray vision, wasn't able to determine that. He thought all three were blenders. I love that kind of energy between the two of them. Those seem like just silly throwaway moments, but they really aren't. To me, that's the stuff that makes Superman's world three-dimensional, that makes it have life and breathe. I like those normal moments. You don't want to overdo it with those, but every so often it's nice to see a hero in day-to-day moments and how their world is a little bit different because they have powers, and how their loved one reacts differently because they have powers. I'm into that kind of stuff. I think it's great. And I love that we see in that whole sequence, Lois is still working on the Wayne Tech computer, which I geeked out over.
Yeah.
But she's on the go. She's got the cup of joe in her hand. She's doing her typing. She's getting her story done. This is a very busy Lois Lane who, is a worker bee journalist. She's in there doing her thing. We know that even though Clark's doing his thing and he's very busy, she's getting her own thing going, working at the planet. And I love that aspect of their relationship, that each one of them is doing something important in their own way, using their own skills in a way that's, in their mind being agents of change. That's something I've always enjoyed about their relationship at its best. And I do hope that in the New 52, we eventually get this with the two of them. Because I do think it works. And I do think that writers who are clever can make this work and make it work really, really well. So I do hope it is something that we see in the New 52. I think what's really important, though, when you put these two together, and I think this is sometimes where it gets lost, if you separate the two of them too much, you lose the dynamic of the relationship and what it brings to the table. I think you can't do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just kind of agreeing with you about just the feel of Lois and Clark as a team. When the New 52 relaunched, that was the one thing I said I was really, really scared about what was going to happen to them. And I got to we're seeing just the beginning ground stones being laid of a future relationship. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm looking forward to seeing that play out. But it is something that I always loved about just seeing these two together and why they're together. And Superman just as a hero, his style, it's who he is. It makes sense that he would have a partner. It makes sense that he would have a loved one. He would have this very strong, dynamic woman in his life, and encouraging him, keep giving him hope and giving him reason to continue the fight, and just being that that partner. And I love seeing always those are some great Lois and Clark stories in the regular comic, and this Smallville needed these moments. This really does, again, add to what the story, add to the continuation of what it was. And I love the fact that these two can have this discussion. They can have an open debate. They could disagree, but there's never at any point in time did I ever read this thinking that either one was being snippy, either one was, being over the line. It still was an equal level of respect, equal level of encouragement towards each one. They're there to help the other one. They're there for the other one. They're there for that, person that they truly and deeply love. And I loved seeing that, that come through. And these are just really simple dialogues and simple conversations. But the way the artistic's portrayed, it looks very comfortable, very relaxed, very open, very honest. The wording, the phraseology, everything that's playing out here is just a great comfort level with each other. And that is something you need in a strong, solid relationship.
I also like there's a realism to the fact that these are two people who they're both working. And it's very hard for them to find time to connect. My wife and I go through this sometimes, because, she's busy with her job or I'm busy with my job. I'm busy podcasting when I'm not. I mean, we have other things going on in our lives. And there's times where it's hard to, you're passing each other like in the kitchen or something like that. But I love how these two make that moment to chat, and really listen to each other about what's going on. Like Clark's asking questions because he's genuinely interested in what's going on in her life. She's asking questions because genuinely interested in what's going on with him. I think there's something for any couple that you can connect with. Whether you're married or not or whatever, I think, we all have those situations like this. And I thought it's funny. I've never connected with like the realism of that relationship before until this sequence. I thought this was brilliantly done. Even from his comments about how they got the S wrong on the shirt and her coming back with, how hard it is to draw this thing the same way twice. It was great. I really enjoyed those kind of casual, tongue-in-cheek, loving comments about their world, because they're joking around really about their world and geeky stuff that we as fans all notice. They're noticing and bringing into their world. I really, really enjoyed that. And then it leads into this deep discussion about Clark being an alien, which is something that, they're debating over how much of this should be revealed in lieu of what happened with Darkseid and the parademons and all that stuff. How much do we make this out there? And his idea that, I can be this positive vision of this, that it's not everything out there's bad. You don't have to fear everything. There can be a lot out there that's just like me. And he's got some backing in that with characters like the Martian Manhunter being, a benevolent one as well. So it's interesting that, he's thinking this way, but I love that she's acting as a check and balance, and he's respecting her opinion about this situation. It's very much a tete-a-tete between the two of them, and I just love that. I think there's something natural. These are things, geek-out things for me. I want him talking about this, because it's an issue.
Definitely.
And it's cool. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. It's a normal, again, it's a real world conversation. It's that realism that comes into a comic book. We're talking about a character who's an alien from another planet who has superhuman powers. And this is a realistic conversation that somebody would have. If everything was going on here, if you could accept all the craziness that is, Superman, these are things you would have to think about. And it's something that the reboot, has really done really well with the looking at the cynicism of, people. We are a very cynical society nowadays. Back when Superman was first introduced, the concept, of people would be a lot more accepting of it because they're like, oh, look, he's a hero. He's a good guy. Well, nowadays, it's always the question of what's in it for him. Why is he doing this? What is his ulterior motive? He has to have another, he has to have another reason behind it. He's not just doing this to be a good guy. What's his reasoning behind? And you add the alien thing, bam! You start this the spin doctors at work. They're going to start saying, hey, look, alien, hey, this is the prefront to an alien invasion. He's doing this to conquer us. He's doing this to do this to us. They want to, scan and probe us in various uncomfortable places. There's all types of, just that negative alien jive that we have locked in our heads. those are all going to come flooding out, and people will start forgetting about the good that he did. The fact that he saved the Earth/universe and how many individuals he's rescued along the way, that stuff is going to get thrown out. And part of me wonders if after the reveal comes, because I'm assuming the reveal is coming soon, if they'll go back to people like the Russian cosmonauts, or people who they show, having a very pro-Superman feel, whether they'll be a little bit more leery of it, a little bit more curious of it. Maybe they'll think, hey, that explosion that happened in outer space, that was him and his people doing it. So he really didn't save those Russian guys. He was just covering up for it. Or, there's a lot of different ways you can look and start spin and start thinking differently about the man just based on one little piece of information.
Or is everything that's going on and all the fear already in place going to keep him from revealing it? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, because I'm not 100% convinced the reveal is coming right away. I think that you're right. There's a good possibility it is, but I don't know that it's 100% set in stone. Or, is that something that maybe is going to be on the back burner with, his whole relationship with Lex? I don't know. I loved that, we got to see from that dialogue that you're talking about with the alien, him switch into Clark Kent mode and how different he looked.
Yeah.
And how the mask is on, at that moment. And regardless of whether he reveals as an alien or not, we got to see that he really has, and I loved how they did that on television, when we got to see him in the future, as Clark in the future, in those episodes that they did it, and then eventually what ended up happening towards the season finale where we got to see the Clark Kent persona being developed. I love how we got to see that gradually developed and how we're seeing it carried out here. It means a lot when you see him in that persona in this issue with all that development behind it. And the dialogue between... I'm actually glossing over something that I really want to go to because it leads into Lex's discussion with Clark. Lex has this great moment with Lois's dad.
Yeah.
They're debating the weapon that was being launched into space. And the Russians were putting a weapon up there. And, Lex is talking about how we have a right to defend ourselves, especially after what happened with Apocalypse. He's talking about that whole thing coming down. And you can't – that's my favorite Lex moments where you're sitting here saying, well, he has a point. I can't help but agree with that. But then – the dad's making the point of what happens if the Russians turn that weapon on us, turn the weapon on Earth. And Lex says, but isn't that what Superman is? We're trusting that this guy is that weapon to protect us. But what if he turns on us? And there's an interesting philosophical point being mentioned there. And what is going to come of that? Are you right? Is that going to lead to an alien reveal where Lex is going to use that to his advantage? Or is Lex pushing this type of thing going to further maybe Lois's point? I don't know. There's going to be an interesting debate here on where this goes. I just find it insanely interesting whichever direction it goes in because of this kind of development. Go ahead.
Oh, definitely, dude. This is, one of the, as I said, one of the things I loved about the way Lex is written here. He has that same Lex Luthor feel where at points in time when you're saying, I completely agree with him. If I was in this world, I'd want a weapon. I'd want something that I would want my government to develop something that could defend against, another alien invasion and also could defend against Superman. I hate to admit, but I know me well enough to know that I would be one of those skeptical people. I would be one of those people wondering, okay, what if he does turn evil? What if he does go bad? Do we have a way to stop him? Do we have a way to protect ourselves if he's not on the up and up? And I'm a professional skeptic. It's kind of, what I do and how I look at life a lot of times. And on some hands, it's a good thing. It, kind of helps in the job. But on the other hands, you do go through life a little bit waiting for the other shoe to fall, looking for, okay, what's all the angles here? What's the game? I'd love to just openly think, yeah, this guy's here to save us. And I would be hooping and hollering for Superman in the world. But in the back of my head, I would be looking and wondering and, thinking, okay, is there something else going on here?
See, that's interesting. I agree with your skepticism point. And I'm speaking on me, not you. I'm not disputing what you're saying because I know you well enough to know what you're saying is genuine. I don't know how I'd react. I think I would be more skeptic until I saw him once. Like if he came to Cleveland and saved somebody, I got the chance to see that. Or, if I met him or something like that, that would be gone. Because I just know how I am. Like, it's that little. I'm going to be honest. It's that little kid in me. It would be that geeky sense of wonder and all that. I guess. It would be very interesting because anytime you talk about this stuff, like what we're doing right now, you're speculating on something based on our experiences with television, film, comic books, animation, all that kind of stuff. In the reality of seeing somebody that powerful in front of you, how do you feel? I guess I do think there's that part of me that would go to that geeky kid part of myself and go, yeah, there's really superheroes. Maybe I could be that someday. You know what I mean? There'd be that part of you that like would think that. But I don't know in reality how much of that would be enough to carry me. I'd like to think it would. That, some of that sense of wonder is something I do carry. Because I know I with my students, I kind of carry that kind of stuff. I tend to seek and look for the positives. And I do think a lot of that is my experience growing up reading comic books and, following heroes and stuff like that. So I'd like to think I would give them the benefit of the doubt. I do think it would be more inclined to be something if I saw him in person or, witnessed something close or actually met him that would really drive that home, I think. But there is that part of me that I was more going to say I don't think I'd be skeptical. I don't know if you really saw somebody that powerful. Would that be scary? I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum because we see the fantastic all the time. And you'd like to think if you saw that in person. But I don't know if I was like in downtown Cleveland and a car went flying over me because Superman was in a big, huge fight, if I would afterwards, even if he won and saved somebody's lives, if I'd be able to go, ooh, I feel safe. I don't know. That's really difficult.
That's a whole nother side of an argument. Yeah, I think if I had a chance to meet him, had a chance to see him, or had somebody who I knew had met him and said, oh no, he's a great guy. It's that whole personal connection, because like anybody else, I think, oh yeah, I can read people. If I were to meet him and look him in the eye, I could tell you, oh yeah, that guy is sincere and genuine. Whether the guy is completely lying to my face or not, I wouldn't be able to tell, but I would have that comfort level because I have a personal connection to him. And that's the way we are with anybody, even famous, once somebody meets an athlete and says, that guy's a really cool guy. You're like, oh, okay, he must be nice because, I trust my friend's opinion and he's saying this guy's a great guy. So he is a great guy. And it's with actors and athletes and just anybody generally famous and or celebrity type status. Once you have that personal connection, you're locked in and you continue on and anything good you see or hear about them will be reinforced just because you already have that personal connection. So I think him meeting people, him, coming to Cleveland, saving a life would definitely, probably alleviate a lot of my skepticism, but I don't know if all of it, but it definitely would alleviate a lot of skepticism. And in one hand, then the pessimist side or the conspiracy theorist side would say, see, that's why he's doing it. It's all a ruse to get us to drop our guard. We got to stay ever vigilant. So there's a lot of thought process with me going into thinking how I would handle the world with Superman.
In your comic, did Clark knock the color out of that guy's outfit when he bounced into him with the groceries?
No.
Well, okay, no, here's what I'm saying. Take a look at the page where he bumps into the guy and says sorry. What's the guy wearing in yours?
Oh, wow, yeah, he did.
And then the page where he's actually guys walking away with the groceries, unless he gave them to a different guy. The guy's hat's changed, his jacket's changed, and his shirt, right?
Yeah. It's a pure white shirt with blue jeans and a red hat. And then when he bumps, then afterwards it's orange and green, multicolored shirt with a purple hat. And
his hair looks slightly different, too. Just a little bit of a different shade. There's a little bit more blonde in the second picture.
Hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, it's funny anymore. I pay a lot more attention to color work than I ever used to. And that was something that just dawned on me when I hit. I love the scene. So it's why I was studying it so much, because that whole sequence between the two of them, the clumsy Clark, and how Clark is still trying to get information about Lex along the way during that discussion is something, I don't know, just stood out for me as being just a great scene. Lex has this really interesting point about how he doesn't understand how they could have been friends. And it really how can Clark explain that? He can't explain that to him. Lex is thinking it's this attitude that Clark was copping, but really the truth of the matter is that it was that pivotal moment where he ran into Clark with his vehicle and Clark saved him. That was something that Lex was never able to let go. He became fascinated and interested in Clark, and they developed a friendship along the way because Lex couldn't let go of his curiosities about Clark, knowing that there was something more about Clark that he just couldn't put his finger on. And I love that now the relationship's taken a very different turn because Lex doesn't know where the friendship came from. Sure, heard rumors and saw enough. They'd been friends long enough that history was in place. And I loved that about this issue. It doesn't ignore anything about Smallville. From the conversation they were having about Tess running the Daily Planet and Lex trying to cover for the fact that she committed suicide or, that whole storyline that was going on there. I loved that nothing from the TV show was canceled. And left out. They have to still deal with that. And I love how that makes it feel like this is very much the Lex Luthor that is going to be the enemy of Superman. That was something that I thought the show wrapped up in a very clever way, putting Lex in a place where if they never did this comic, we were in a place where we believed it was possible for him to become the Lex we know.
Yeah.
And I really give them a lot of credit creatively, whoever led him down that path, whoever's decision that was and the creative backbone of that show. I thought they left it in a very satisfying ending where if we never got this series, which I'm so glad we're getting it right now, because for me this first issue has been a pure joy. It's funny, until I read this, I didn't realize how much I'd missed Smallville. This was a home run. I'm geeking out so much. This is a home run for me out of the park because I feel like I'm coming back and visiting friends again because of the fact that this isn't something that's being shoehorned into the DC universe. It's a comic that's really embracing the show for what it was. And these relationship moments with Clark and Lex, some of my favorite moments for the show were the conversations between Clark and Lex. We're getting that here in this comic book. It feels like Rosenbaum and Welling deliver the lines.
Yes. Oh, definitely. You think about just some of my favorite Lex Luthor lines that were delivered. There was a couple, comedical ones. There was some just that edgy Lex Luthor. I still remember when he had that I am the villain of this story. That intensity he had, and even just the whimsical conversation was like, Clark, our friendship's going to be the thing of legends. And you just like, oh, yeah. There's so many moments that I still get that. I can hear his voice here. I can still hear Welling's voice here. And I'm just like, yes, I wanted this. And then we had, again, what I'm assuming is the end of the second internet, digital image where we get to see Tess, a ghost, or maybe something else there. I'm just like, oh, nice. Because that was just a great, just, whoa, what's this? Like, oh, you look like you've seen a ghost.
Is that because of Tess touching him, do you think? Because of the fact that she passed that disease on to him? Because didn't she do that when whatever she did to him?
Yeah, she passed it. She got whatever that virus thing, and she's the one who passed it and transmitted it to him. But I don't know if this is because of that or if this is something completely else. Because you look and you can still see the blood wound. She was shot. She was gut shot. Lex gut shot her, and you can see the blood around her midriff. So this is the dead Tess Mercer back, and who knows if only Lex can see her, if this is something going on in his head, or if somebody else is messing with Luthor. There's so many different things that could happen here. I was really glad to see this because we're getting the supporting characters getting their own story arcs. Right now, this isn't associated with Clark. This isn't associated with whether he will or won't come out as an alien. This is all a Lex Luthor story. And I was so excited to see that this is going to continue on that type of storytelling where it's not just about Clark. It's not just about Superman. All the supporting characters have just as interesting stories.
With the opening of part 3 for me, and you were spot on where the ending was for me. We get to see this great moment that had me saying, please don't move to Star City. I love seeing Ollie in this book. I loved the handling of him on the show. And this, again, another moment where I totally thought it was going to be a Superman moment. Him coming in, I was fooled by it just like the crooks were. When Green Arrow shows up, I love that there's that acknowledgement that they still know it's Ollie Queen because of what we know as viewers of the show. He revealed his identity. So that was something that I'm glad that stuck and that's something that Ollie has to deal with, which would then compromise Chloe.
That was a really cool moment. Just the fact that they're acknowledging and just everybody knows about the marriage. Everybody knows about that. So she's now in jeopardy as well. And there's, it's laying groundwork for future stories and laying groundwork for possible, actions. But that one little bit line when he's fighting the group, he's completely outnumbered and it's just 100 yards away, 60 degrees angle. And you can just see him do the quick math in his head where he's got to fire for the scatter bomb that he's, the scatter bomb arrow that he's dropping. I was like, yes, right there. That is showing, again, what a normal human would have to deal with in this type of universe. And again, is the physics behind his super arrows possible? Probably not, but it still looks cool. And I'm so glad that we're getting to see more Green Arrow superhero stuff, where we're just like how we got to see some cool Superman moments, we're getting some cool Green Arrow moments. And again, another supporting character who has a solid story and is actually getting some page time.
It's funny talking about his fantastical errors on the DC Nation block of the animation. Every week or every couple weeks, I don't know if they do it every single week. I'm trying to remember if it's been every week. They'll test out tech of the DC superheroes. They tested the boxing glove arrow. They made one and actually fired one, and it worked. So I love. It was funny you were talking about. Well, the physics of this arrow, physics of that wouldn't work. I looked at him like, they tested the boxing glove arrow though, dude, and it works. You can make one. It was great.
Okay, I need to know how.
Yeah,
I need a boxing glove.
They also
arrow.
did this past. I think it was this past week or it was the week before. They did the collapsible bow staff of Tim Drake, and they had a real martial artist testing it. It was great. I mean, it's you haven't started watching DC Nation yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
You got to just jump in. Just don't worry about the any of that going back and going in order and any of that kind of stuff. You'll catch up along the way, and you can go back and watch any of the episodes you want. You're missing just a fantastic hour block of cartoons that just feel like the comic books, and the shorts are so when the commercial breaks, if you're TiVo in it and you're zipping through the commercial breaks, in between each episode there's a short. Then in the middle of each episode, there's a short. So, and the shorts sometimes are testing out, real life testing out, the batarangs and that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
Nice.
It's geeky stuff. I'm ready to start up my own lab in the basement, making these things that they're showing us how to make, which really probably isn't their intention, shouldn't be. But, I'm pretty soon going to have my own arsenal.
Oh, nice. That's well, as you know, my weekend has been a little bit crazy, so I wasn't able to watch this weekend.
But it is something, when you get yourself settled. Jim moved into a new house, which is why I know you were worried about your echoing. You sound great, actually. Whenever you've got a room that's empty, you're going to get a little bit more of an open sound, which is if Jim sounds different this episode, that's what you're getting from him because he just literally moved in. And thank you, actually, for recording, because I know you had to probably rush to get yourself set up because you're really got a lot good in your plate right now, getting set up.
Yeah, it's been an interesting experience. This is my first home that I've owned. I've always rented and or lived with family. So I am now in the Fortitude of Whatnot, as it's being called. That is the official name I am giving to my home. Originally, I was going with the Whatnot of Solitude is where it started, and then that kind of merged onto the Fortress of Whatnot. And I never thought Stately Manor because it was always Stately Wayland Manor. Just it fits your house so well. But I had to come up with something, and then actually Sensei my brother Bill, kind of combined Fortress of Solitude, the Fortress and Solitude into one word, Fortitude. So it's the Fortitude of Whatnot. And of course, within here I have my dojo of whatnot, and now I am in the brain, the battle center, which is will be my computer and comic room. I've got the armory, so I've got different parts of the house I'm already starting to name and label and just get ready, it's a slow process that will eventually build. I've already had a couple near-death experiences in the house. Well, I was sitting there. I'm going to tell the story, so don't worry. And the way the house is laid out in the kitchen, I have a oven that's attached into the wall, and then I have a separate range top and a different part.
Wait, you didn't put your head in the oven, did you?
No.
I'm kidding.
I didn't.
Okay.
Well, I kind of did, but I'll get to why I did that in a minute.
What?
But I'll get to that.
Go ahead.
So I'll go over to the range and I turn on all the burners and I make sure all the burners are working, and they are. I'm like, cool, okay, that's good. And then after I turn off the burners, I open, because it's a range top in the counter, so there's storage space underneath where I'm currently keeping pots and pans and whatnot, and I open that up and I'm hit with just this waft of gas smell, and I'm like, what the heck? And sure enough, the line that leads from the main gas line to the range itself is all cracked and broken and leaking like a sieve. So that really could have gone very poorly. I have this contained area of gas where I have the flames right above it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that almost ended poorly for me at day one of the house. Boom. That would have been an interesting experience. And then, fortunately, my dad, and I say my dad and I, but in reality, Dad did all the work. We were able to change out the lines, so now everything's safe. But me being the neurotic guy that I am, I'm going around sniffing every possible gas line saying, is this cracked? Is this broken? And of course, at one point in time, I did stick my head in the oven, just making sure there's no gas leakage, because the oven is, as I said, it's built into the wall. So it's not like I can get behind it to smell, if there's any gas. So I was like, so...
Jeez.
Yeah,
it almost sounds like a classic. It almost sounds like a classic cartoon. Your stove blows up, your head comes out, and you look like a flower. That's funny. But I'm glad that turned out to be nothing. It's funny with the sound you've got going right now. Would you sound very, at least from my perspective, you sound very good. But with that sound, that open sound, it almost sounds like you're in like the Fortress of Solitude, because my vision of the Fortress of Solitude was always it's this big open space with those huge columns. It looks more like a banquet room, with big tall ceilings, things like that. That sound would be something I'd expect in the Fortress of Solitude. So your sound actually matches being in the Fortitude of Whatnot.
I tell you, if you're ever going shopping for, furniture, because I have absolutely really nothing here, but I was getting my bedroom set. If you want to have fun, the first time when someone comes up and asks you, can I help you? Look them right in the eye and go, I'm thinking kind of something in Fortress of Solitude style, so a lot of crystals and a lot of white spiky things. What do you got on those lines? And say it as straight-faced as you can, because if they know comic books or know Superman, they'll chuckle. Otherwise, they'll look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. And then you're just like, I'm just joking around. They're like, what can I help you with? You get that nice uncomfortable moment.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this then. Let's go the third route, because you didn't. What happens if they say, yes, we do? What do you do then? How much are you joking? Because as you were laying out your little plan, huh?
I honestly wouldn't want that. I went with a traditional old school kind of wooden, relatively plain and boring, to be honest with you. But, I would have, if that guy would have called me on my bluff, that would have been a lot of, I'm just joking.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, where my recording room is at the house, like if I had somebody come in to do the decorating, and I said to them jokingly, like, I'd like something very Batcave. And the guy came with, like, he said, well, yeah, we could do this, and this. I would start out joking, but then I'd really have to have a long talk with my wife. Because, I'm very into the idea of sliding bookshelves and, like, Batcave motif and, I don't know.
See, I could very easily turn this room into a Fortress of Solitude style, because I got a lot of really big open walls that I'm planning on putting pictures and paintings and comic books, signed books and whatnot on the walls. But I could very easily somehow come across some crystal-like structures or, just things like that and give this a very Fortress of Solitude style to it. But the problem behind that is I would have to do it myself, and
no,
artistic I am.
Wait, no. See, I'm not artistic either.
Yeah.
So if there was a way to genuinely do it, where like it's like Fortress of Solitude for dummies, I would be over there helping you.
Oh, definite, yeah.
Because like I would want to see this happen. I'll facilitate this for you if there was a way. I don't know what it is, because I'm with you. I have no artistic talent either to speak of. I'm a comic book reader. There's no way I'm a creator on any level. So this is, that's not my cup of tea. But believe me, I'm telling you right now, and this is no kidding. I am very prepared to like justify why it's okay for this to be the one room in our house that probably nobody else will ever see other than you, or any other geeky comic book friend that I have that would come over. Because it's only us that my wife would let see it. This would be the room in the house that when like everyone comes over, she'd go, "You don't want to see that."
That would be the shake the head room where she just silently shakes her head, just going, "Oh, really?" But
I love my wife because I know because it's this room only, I would win that argument. It'd be the only room in the house, and the way the bargain would work, every other room in the house, if she wanted it to be pink, I'd have to just say yes. But, this, and I would honestly say I would cave to that to have a Batcave room.
Yeah, I tell you, a Batcave room would look pretty cool. And I think they'd be able to do a Batcave room easier than a Fortress of Solitude room. Mm-hmm. Because it is just a cave motif, and there's got to be people who do like the cavemen dinosaur type rooms or cave rooms or things like that. There's got to be rooms out there and I think you could actually very easily come up with a Batcave room, dude. I think we could do it.
Wait. I love that you're sitting here going, "Oh yeah, I love that you're not saying." You're sitting there saying, there's probably not a whole lot of people doing the Batcave motif, but there's a whole little underground group of people that are doing dinosaur room motifs. Did you hear that justification? Yeah, they got a little group. They get together on the weekends and exchange pictures of their dinosaur rooms. So you're a lock, Sean. Don't worry. You can get your Batcave thing in. Thank goodness to all these people that are dinosaur enthusiasts. But nobody likes Crystal. All right. Let's get back to Smallville, because this is really an insane tangent. That really started because we were talking about why you have your wide open sound. But we're back to Ollie. And Ollie gets in this moment where really he does this great job of one-upping on the guys. And I love seeing the acrobatics and things like that. I don't think Clark needed to save Ollie there. Ollie is acrobatic enough that he would have gotten himself out of the way. Probably with some battle damage, like we've often seen from Ollie.
But I love would have been some heavy battle damage.
Yeah.
That was a rocket, that was being fired at him, and that would have been a tough one to survive, and that would have been so. I think, Clark was watching the whole time, and he was just observing, and it was at that moment when, yes, this is where I needed to step in. Where he's dealing with the massive crowds and he's dealing with all those guys like, Ollie can handle this. Ollie knows what he's doing. I don't need to swoop in and kind of steal my friend's thunder. I don't need to do this. Oops, that's a rocket. Okay, now I need to step in. And that's how I read those panels. That was something, again, I really enjoyed about the Clark and seeing how he did it. showing the professional level, and just he was there. Ollie was never in any quote unquote real danger because these thugs he knew Ollie could take because Ollie's got skills. But once he got to that level where, yeah, he probably could have survived, but it's too close of a call. I'm not going to risk the life of my friend. I'm going to intervene.
Now, I love that whole one quick change later, because, again, it goes back to what I enjoy about Smallville. You got a cool action sequence that leads into some great character dialogue between two characters that are buddies. And I love the banter between the two about the art design and how, he's doing this whole kind of floral motif with villains. It was great. I loved that. And that just shows the familiarity with these two.
Yeah, it was neat because, again, familiarity and just that comfort with each other. And I love just that that dialogue and that conversation. Then it flows right into Lois and Chloe. And again, these are cousins, but they're not just cousins. They're good friends. They're close family. And I love seeing just the acknowledgement between the two of them and just everything going on. Like, hey, each one of them have their own plates going on. They're pretty full, and they're dealing with the superhero family, the intrepid journalist lifestyles, and all the little extra stuff, that craziness that comes from being in this world. And I love seeing, again, a friendliness, comfort, and just that, this is right here is Lois and Chloe. And I was happy to see these characters were the way I remember them, the way I wanted them to be.
I liked the idea that, we saw on the show such great development of Chloe developing this watchtower as being a way to connect the heroes all over the place and really to kind of keep an eye on the world. She became the oracle of the Smallville universe. And I'm glad that just because she's moving to Star City and her role's changed a little bit with that she's still embracing Watchtower. She's still embracing that role and embracing the idea that there needs to be hubs of this in every one of the cities connecting these people. So that way they have this information network to exchange. It's something that I thought was great. It is uniquely Smallville in the way it's presented. It's an Oracle-type role, but it's got a nice little twist on it that makes it fresh. And I like that. I like how they did that. But in this sequence, right as they're ready to leave, she's like, I guess I can't go yet because something came through from the other side of the rift. I'm glad that she checks and follows up on these things. This shows some people at this point. These people for 10 seasons were investigating this stuff from when she was just a journalist in high school, straight on through to becoming an adult. She has been investigating strange phenomena. So for her, this is just another day at the office of saying, hey, I can't ignore this rift. What was that all about? What information can I determine from it? She is that first line of defense on the information front. I loved seeing that. I'm hoping and praying that Chloe's going to have some regular appearances. Even if she does go and live in Star City, we'll see her guest star from time to time and come in and be a part of this because she's a character I think is just really important to the Smallville mythos. Just for sequences like this, I love that it was her and Lois really discovering this together and that they're going to be players in this whole thing. I just thought it was great. I'm curious to see what that thing is.
Or who that is.
Yeah.
Because immediately it gets you thinking, you start going through all the different characters in the Superman mythos and the super universe. They're able to pull some of these characters now into the story and actually utilize them. I'm actually very excited to see who it is because I don't think it's going to be a brand new character. I think it's going to be somebody we know.
I don't know. Do you care either way?
No. Either way, I'm cool with it because, one, it would be neat to see their take on the villain or somebody I know. But on the other hand, it is all about the story I'm being told. So if I have a neat character that's kind of fun and interesting, okay, cool. I got a neat character that's fun and interesting. I may not have a lengthy history on it, but you know what? This is a brand new universe. You really don't have any long history on any of these people. So go with it. Let's see what we got.
Cool. Yeah, for a first issue, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really anticipating more from this series. And Brian Q. Miller I loved his Batgirl book from DC. So it's great to have him back on a regular monthly book. This is nice. It's got everything that I really was expecting. It delivered a home run. Just a really nice nod to the fans of Smallville. And I hope this does bring some new people to comics. some people maybe who are just fans of the television show. I hope that, maybe this is an avenue where the digital medium maybe will offer an opportunity for some of those fans to try out Smallville differently. And these digital issues, the 3 that I mentioned, they were 99 cents each, and it was an interesting delivery way. I'm hoping that price point brought in some people who don't read comics normally. I'm just hoping that this, like I said, could be just a gateway for that casual Smallville fan maybe who doesn't read comics. Because that show had a great casual fan base that was not comic book readers. And I think there's just a great opportunity there to tap into an audience.
Well, our next discussion will be on Dial H. The writer is China Melville, Mieville. The artist is Mateus Santolouco, Santolouco. Colorist is Tanya and Richard Horry. Letterer Steve Wands. Cover Brian Boland, with variant covers by David Finch, Richard Friend, and Jeremy Cox, and assistant editor Joe Hughes, and editor Karen Berger.
I'm going to ask you right away because I'm endlessly interested in this. When you and I went through the list of the second wave of DC titles, this was one that I was excited for. You were really on the fence on the concept and whether or not this book was going to interest you. So I'm just going to ask right away because it's the question that's burning for me. How did you feel about this?
I'm still on the fence, I'll be honest with you. It was a good story. I'm not going to knock the story, or it was a good read-through, but I'm not like, oh my God, that was wonderful. I need more to get comfortable with this guy. I picked this up because of the show. If I wasn't doing the show, I would have thought about picking this up. I don't know. I probably would have waited to hear what people said about it. But I'm in for a story arc. I'm still at that point where I'm in for the story arc because it was a good story. But I got to see where this goes. I got to get a comfort level with the characters before I make any final decisions on it. There were a couple really cool moments in it that I was like, okay, because of this moment, I'm a little bit more into it. I'm a little bit more into this concept. I'm a little bit more into this writer and this art style because these are people, creators that I don't really recall reading their stuff before. So there's a couple levels of unknown. I don't know the character. I don't know who and what he's about, and I'm not familiar with the creators. But I'll tell you, and when we get to the moments, I'll let you know. There was a couple really cool moments in here that had me thinking, okay, I may be around longer for this title because of this, because of blank, this moment right here.
Okay, for a guy like you, who's reading this issue and on the fence, one of the keys to a first issue, a well-delivered first issue, is to hook you into reading the second issue. You mentioned before that you picked up the first issue for the sake of the show. Do you feel that you're picking... I know that you already had to pre-order the second issue, but you have to... Let's take that out of the scenario. You now have to... You've read the first issue. Are you buying the second issue because you had to pick it up for the show, or would you go into a comic shop now and pick up the second issue? Did they hook you in enough that you're like, I've got to pick up the second issue. I want to at least see what's going on to see if this is a book for me? I'm not saying that this has to be a top-of-the-stack book for you right now. Did they hook you? And there's no right or wrong answer to this. I'm curious. Was this first issue enough for you to make you say, I want to read issue 2 to at least see more of the story to see if this is a book for me? Was there enough content in here that did that for you?
Actually, yes. And I can say, and I can even point to the exact scene that has me wanting to read to see what happens. And there is, as I said, there is a moment in the book where I'm like, okay, that's got me curious to see what happens next. Now, I'm not locked in beyond that. I have to wait and see what happens in issue 2, see where this goes with the characters, where this goes with the it's the buddy of the hero. It's his it's his friend that helps him out, and by helping him out, kind of angers the bad guys, and it's what happens to him.
Well, he wasn't where he was supposed to be because he was helping his buddy out.
Yeah, because he was helping him out, he wasn't where he was supposed to be, and that kind of really irked the bad guys. And one of the things that I really liked, and it's the moment that has me wanting to read the next issue, is he tries to intimidate the bad guys and tells them, hey, leave him alone. Well, because he named his buddy, because he said, leave this guy alone, what's the first thing the bad guys do? They say, kill him. I want that man dead. This man is a connection to this hero. Fine, let's show him suffering. Let's show him pain. It was that sequence right there that really had me going, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm glad we have a villain who isn't just a mindless, villain or a mindless thug. This is a guy who is thinking. He's thinking outside the comic book villain box. And then I do want to see. I want to see if the friend lives or dies, or see how that plays out. Now, once we get beyond those moments, it'll be a determination when I read issue 2, what happens for issue 3, etc., and where this goes. But that one moment was enough for me, along with some cool hero moments, some different hero moments, some little bit quirkiness, to keep me interested in the book and reading on. It's, as you said, it's not a top of the stack for me by any stretch of the means, but part of that is because I'm not familiar with this. As I get more familiar, who knows, this may rise up.
I deliberately waited to say how I felt about the book because I didn't want to influence you in any way. I didn't want to start going on one of my usual tirades and not give you a chance to, especially because I thought it was very interesting, because when we approach these type of things, usually I get a vibe for what books you're into, which ones you aren't. And you were so adamant that you were kind of like, when you heard the concept of it. So I'm thrilled that you're having this experience of the first issue was enough to hook you in, because this was Animal Man good for me. And the reason why I'm making that connection, one of the things I'm really enjoying about the current Animal Man series, it's very different. It's a different take on the whole superhero concept. From the secret identity, the family identity, to supporting cast, everything that's just going on in the story, Animal Man's a very unique experience. It's a supernatural book a la Swamp Thing and Justice League Dark and stuff like that, but it's nothing like even those books. It's got its own unique place. It's doing something that no other title is doing for me right now. This Dial H is so like that. These are two guys that really, by any stretch, the way they're drawn, their whole way they're carrying themselves, neither of these guys are like material. These are heroes. and I like that show, No Ordinary Family. That superhero show. I really enjoyed that when that was out on TV, because it just was people that you wouldn't normally expect to become heroes. And this has that kind of vibe where you're seeing this guy Nelson, and you're like, he's going to be the lead character in all this, and he's down and out. His buddy's trying to talk him down. These were very real world conversations. I think everyone hits that point in life where you're seeing a friend hit a low. And we've all had lows in our life. And hopefully everybody listening can say, I've been through my low, I'm past it, I'm done. We've been there, done that. Helped my friends through some lows, and we're all in that point in our life where we're past all that. But some people listening right now might be going through that. And this is a great book to kind of motivate you and to see that, you might be going through a low, but there's always that curveball that life's going to throw you that can change that direction, can give you something new. This is a guy who right now just doesn't have much going on. And his pivotal moment where he's down and out, and really basically he risks almost ruining his friendship with Darren by the way he's talking to him. That argument was a pretty deep argument. But Darren was still there for his buddy. And actually, my respect for Darren, I don't know what shadiness Darren's involved in totally. Obviously, he got himself involved in some bad people, and Darren's made some mistakes. But the one thing that I loved, and I always have a lot of respect for this, even if you've made horrible mistakes in your life, there's those moments where I think there's a difference between being a good guy and a bad guy, is when you've got tried and true friends or family or whatever, and you make that decision to say, okay, whatever mess I'm involved in right now, this person needs me more. And I need to put them ahead of whatever my nonsense is. That means at his core, I might be willing to walk up to Darren and smack him upside the head and say, dude, you're being an idiot for whatever he got involved in. But in the end, I'm going to care enough to walk up and smack him upside the head and say, Darren, you're being an idiot, because of the fact that he stood by his friend in that moment. It caused him more trouble, caused him some more turmoil, but it was because he manned up and helped his friend. I love those moments. There was something about that felt very real. like, Darren's a doofus, but, and Nelson's a doofus, but, he came out and was standing up for his buddy in those moments. And there's a vibe in this relationship, this friendship that started off right from the get-go. It just felt different to me because these aren't pretty people. They aren't, they're real people, who are going through real problems and in situations that just, felt very, I don't know, there's a lot of connectability for me in these two characters right from the get-go, which is really important to establish when you're introducing new people. Because I'm with you. I read Hero by Will Pfeiffer. Really enjoyed that. This is different, a completely different take on this whole thing for me. I don't have a big history with Dial H. So I love the concept, though. The whole going to the phone booth and something happens. I don't know how true this is to the original concept. I just got to say, I really dug this. The guy, he goes to help his friend. Like you said, I love that whole villain bit where they're like, shoot him. Because it felt like everything in this felt like real. Like, why wouldn't they do that? Why would you leave loose ends like that? He goes into the phone booth, dials this number, and turns into Chimney Boy. And I don't know. I love nonsense stuff like that. Like, Chimney Boy's got powers that make sense for being Chimney Boy. It's... And what I love about it is Chimney Boy looks like something that would happen in a movie. You'd start laughing like crazy because Chimney Boy is like, it's clear that Chimney Boy's powerful enough that he's going to cause some real damage, but it's nonsense. It's totally crazy. And I love that even though he's got this, he's talking like Chimney Boy, there's a personality to Chimney Boy, there's that subconscious part of Nelson that's still there, noticing Darren, and he saves Darren. I love the whole power. I love the whole visual of it. The artwork in this, really, for me, I was with you in this different kind of art style. I was getting used to it as going along. Second Chimney Boy comes onto the scene. I thought the art style really took flight because I thought the whole special effects visual of the chimney powers, which is insane to even say. The chimney what? Chimney powers. Yes, chimney powers were just great. I really enjoyed how smoke was used, how he used that power to fly Darren to the hospital. And I thought that was great how Chimney Boy was the outward personality, but Nelson was in there subconsciously and able to take control of the situation. That was stuff I was just really getting engaged to. Really important this early on in the issue for a new concept for me to be drawing me in that way. It's insane. It's something different. Yet, with all the insanity, there's a story that feels very human and very real in there. That balance is what really is making this book first issue in a winner for me. If they can keep this kind of momentum for me, this book's a winner. This has a potential to be another Animal Man-ish type of book for me, where my draw to it is, it's not like, I'm reading a book about Chimney Boy, and various other, obviously, heroes that are going to be coming out of the phone booth along the way, because we'll get into, there's more than just Chimney Boy in this. I love that every time he dials the number, he doesn't know what he's going to get. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. This was, as I said, when we got into and right now there's probably somebody yelling at their iPod. It's Boy Chimney, not Chimney Boy.
Or whatever, yeah.
But so let's just, acknowledge that right up front. But when, he hit the scene, I was the same thing with you. Because leading up to that, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. The guy's a bit of a jerk. But, even his buddy's like, hey, he's down and out. He's, don't get mad at him. He's just scared. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's lost in life. And this is a friend thinking about his. And as soon as he entered that alleyway, I knew, this is going to go really horribly for him. And I didn't know if that was going to be the birth of Dial H or where that was going to come through. So as this is all playing out, I was like, this was an interesting something. That's kind of neat. And the artwork when Chimney hit the scenes with the creating the monkeys and the wolves and the various other creatures out of smoke that were attacking the people, that was a neat power and a neat way of looking, and it was a kind of a really groovy style to it. And that was something I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of these are some neat artwork that I was like, all right, this is something that could keep me going. And it was a comfortness and a something that could lock you into it. But I really digged the fact that it's multiple personalities going on there. Mm-hmm. These heroes kind of have their own personality. We have a symbiotic relationship going on here, where Nelson is on one side, and then you got the hero as the other side. And that's something I wondered if that's always been the concept or how that has played out. And that was something that I was kind of curious about. And that was something I like seeing, just the duality nature of each of these heroes.
I have the Showcase volume, Dial H. And it's just one of those things, we talk about all the time. You build stockpiles of trades and back issues and things that you want to get to. But with the amount of monthly books I read, it's very often I've got like monthly books going and a trade. Plus, I like to read novels and stuff. I'm reading Kevin Smith's book currently. I'm really digging that. But it's finding the time to fit in everything that you want to read and listen to, because I love podcasts, I love radio shows, that kind of stuff. Just there's not enough hours in the day for all the content you want to get in. This book is bumping up the stack. Like this summer, I want to read that Showcase volume because I'm interested in the concept now, which is a sign that they've really hooked me in. When I'm actually like sitting here, like I actually pulled out that Showcase volume out of my comic box, setting aside to like say, hey, okay, we got to bump this up and prioritize it a bit because it's cool. I love that you're talking about villains. I loved the villain calling in some help and some favors because he's sitting there saying, okay, this is just a routine thing that's gone wrong now, but I got somebody who's a meta and this can't fly because it is in their world all about power and intimidation. And when you've got somebody taking back the streets, like Boy Chimney, you're right, I goofed up totally on that, but that's when you've got that type of thing happening, you need to call in some help or just accept the fact that you've lost a major amount of your backbone there. Because anybody who witnessed that now, there's a story to be told. And a lot of times, intimidation not only comes from the event of putting a beat down on somebody, it comes from the witnesses who are telling the story. If the story going around is Boy Chimney beating up on these people, it gives people hope. And there was just, I was like getting into that whole vibe of this whole thing where he's saying, hey, no, I got to retake control now. Get me some situation here now where I can, take care of this. I love that because we don't know who's on the other end of the phone. And that becomes a mystery on this. Like there is another player that has yet to be revealed that we only see in the shadows in this story. And that was, just more and more of what I've been enjoying of this.
One of the things I thought was cool from that sequence was looking at even from the alleyway, it's the background art. You see this villain's desk, but if you look on there, he's got family pictures, and it's kind of not completely boom up front and clear. It's in the background, but there's a family picture of him with what looks to be a wife or possibly girlfriend and a child, and there's another family portrait, sort of a family picture of people together. So I like seeing that stuff. And then even back in the alleyway, one of the scenes was there was some graffiti art, and it was killing is rude, and it had a picture of a gun, and it just it made me chuckle just seeing some background graffiti art in the back, right there just throughout the alleyway. And it was just something that, when I went through the second read through and I'm just looking at the artwork, that was something that really caught my attention.
I love when he goes back after talking to Darren and is like realizing that I want to know more of what happened to me with the phone booth. So he goes back to the phone booth and he's trying words that make sense, like chimney, help, back, safe. And I love, he hits that point of frustration where you're going to start entering gibberish, like if so. Just because he happened to say if so there, he entered it just because he's tried every word he can think of and he's running out of, which I could see so doing that. You hit that point where you do that with crossword puzzles, with all kinds of things, where you start making up gibberish stuff. I love that if so is actually the same numbers for hero.
Yeah.
And it was just great how that just was a happy accident that dialing that turned him into... what was his name? Captain Lacrimose, who brings down, obviously goes into your deepest, darkest, I guess, disappointments in life. And,
your misery.
Yeah.
Your failings and just that, that despair. And it just brings it out and brings it to life and fruition. And it was it's a weird, kind of interesting, quirky power, where it's not some flashy laser beams flying out of the eyes and nothing I would have ever thought of make your bad guys sad. That's what your hero power is. I'm like, really? But they told it nicely in the artwork. And again, it kind of reminded me of some stuff from Blackest Night when they were trying to get the emotional response so they could go in and rip your heart out and feed the battery. And it was just, I liked seeing just that these villains, these hardcore killers, are able to have these emotions, able to have these things that this guy can play with. But as soon as that, the manipulation's done, boom, they're back on.
I love that we find out that the sadness that he generates gives him more power. Because when the mother from Psycho decides to attack him, and I think it's great that she's getting other roles, he is able to overcome that situation only because he'd soaked up so much sadness that he had enough in him to be able to get the word out to leave Darren alone.
Yeah.
And then to leave. Recognizing that if he stayed, he doesn't know how that battle was going to go. I liked that. I liked that he had to retreat because he didn't know, not knowing who this lady was and what her powers were. He did a strategic retreat while sending the message that he wanted to send. I thought that was cool storytelling because, again, that's a little bit of a different way for a situation like this to be handled. This book has a lot of unique flavor to it, and a lot of those things just made sense to me. I don't know, if I see some crazy old lady spurting out stuff at me, and I know that, the only thing keeping me going is the misery I just caused, I might backpedal a little bit and, come back later.
A tactical retreat's always a good thing. You gotta, he who runs and, he who lives and runs away lives to fight another day.
Meantime, who's suction cup fingers that he's sending next? Because they're going after Darren still. So that's not been dropped. But whoever the big boss is, he's got, behind this glass wall, suction cup fingers sitting there. What's his deal going to be?
See, I kind of took it as the person who can't interact with the open air. Maybe one of those people who, our air is toxic and poison to them. I didn't take it as more suction fingers, but I do see what you're talking about as that. But I took it as
no. But look at his fingers. I mean, they are suction fingers.
Yeah.
I agree with the bodysuit. I guess here's my question, though. It's funny. You and I looked at that suit differently. Is that keeping our air out or his stuff in?
I took it as keeping our air out, but it could be very easily keeping his stuff in. Because when I looked, he looked like the boy in the glass bubble to me because he's completely enclosed. But if he's completely enclosed, he wouldn't need to be in a suit unless he was keeping that in. So, yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I thought your explanation was very plausible. So I'm not sold either way. I want to know. I mean, which is a great ending to this whole thing. And I also want to know when he dials, who's he going to become now? Wouldn't you keep... I'm with him. I would keep going to the phone booth. What's coming next? How cool would that be?
Yeah, I think I probably would. There would be a definite addiction to it because you think about where he's at in his life. It's, he lost his job. He doesn't really have any prospects. His body is falling apart. It's, he had a heart attack, stroke, thing going on, and he's, a mess mentally, physically, emotionally. Now he has something special. Now he has something to latch onto. It's I could really see, myself doing something like this and actually kind of going that route. And though it's gonna keep going that way until he gets that one bad, event. He's gonna get that one bad trip. And that's where things are going to really hold on. Or if his friend dies, or if an innocent person dies because of this, or
Jim, or we'll see what he's really made of.
Yeah, that's the test of character.
You know what? I'm gonna stick up for him here. Look what he did. Think about what a schlub he was in the beginning, before he had any phone booth to deal with. He went and his buddy was in trouble. He could have ran away. He didn't. He manned up. Almost died, but he manned up. I think this is the type of guy that even when he gets hit by that, it might have an effect on him, which is what you're going for. But I do see him manning up again. I like Nelson, and which is a real key when you're introducing a character like this. I've grown to, he's down and out. I get that whole bit. I don't know what's driven him to this point. Well, obviously life and jobs and all kinds of stuff has driven him to this point. But there's enough likability to Nelson and his ability to stand up for his buddy that I like him enough that, I want to see more of what's going to happen with him. which is really critical in the first issue of a series. This has really done a very nice job of introducing a character that you can like and connect with.
It was when he went initially running after his friend because he's like, "Yeah, I was an ass. I'm going to go apologize." And he's actually running, and it's for a guy his size, that in itself is an adventure and a stress on his life. So just seeing him go after his friend to apologize was a cool thing. And then, as you said, when there's the fight going on, he doesn't hide, he doesn't run away, he actually tries to do something.
Yeah, I respect the dude right there more because of what you were implying. This is a guy who's not the most physically fit fellow in the world, and yet, all of these things are important. This is a guy who's willing to go apologize for something. He realizes, oh man, this is a guy who's just here to help me. Everything he was saying to me is the truth. The truth hurts and all that type of thing, and he was lashing out. But this is a friendship. Darren's friendship with him is obviously something that's important to him, and important enough that he was willing to put himself on the line in those moments because he's not the most intimidating guy. So I don't know. This book out of the starting gate, I thought had a really good, strong first issue. It was a concept like I don't know a whole lot about Dial H. I read Hero, which I greatly enjoyed by Will Pfeiffer, but this is different than that. This is something unique and new and cool. It's a great take on the concept. I'm not very familiar with this concept at all in its original nature. And this is really nice because it's a second wave title that I don't feel like is taking the place of anything I'm currently reading. It's crafting kind of a spot of its own, which is really important if you're going to do something new like this and take a concept that's unique of DC's. I hope this, some people are giving this book a shot because it's different. And I hope, maybe just hearing from us if you didn't pick this first issue up, maybe there's somebody who's been looking for that new title, because I know from time to time people will purge books that they're just not digging. Maybe this is a title you're looking for if you're listening to this. And I think the first issue is one worth giving a shot. It's different. It's definitely not like anything else you're reading right now. And I hope we conveyed that well, because I think for some of our listeners, this might be a title that they're going to find that's kind of cool.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Ready to move up.
Hey guys, Donny Salvo here. Wanted to call and give you a belated happy anniversary, and I've been catching up on your episodes. And the question about Lady Shiva, I remember as a kid reading some Richard Dragon Kung Fu comics, and I think she was a pretty big character there. I don't know when they integrated her into the Bat universe, in a sense, but I remember she used to train with Richard Dragon back in the 70s. So there you go. That's all the info I had. Hope all is well, and hope to see you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
It was funny, after we had that discussion on the show about Lady Shiva's past, and my exposure to her was what I said. It was in the Bat books. So I didn't read Richard Dragon. I love the character. We've seen Richard Dragon make appearances in Bat-related books, actually, quite recently. And that's been my exposure to Richard Dragon. I didn't know him a lot prior to that. And Lady Shiva makes sense that she would appear in a Richard Dragon book from her history. So I love it's cool. And when I saw that on Wikipedia, I was hoping somebody would call in like Donnie did and just share their own personal experience. Because I'm always more of a fan of that than me saying, hey, I saw it on Wikipedia. It's more fun to say, hey, I remember as a kid reading that, which is cool. Donnie's a podcaster in his own right, and Donnie's been a longtime friend of the show, good friend of ours. We've had him on the show before. And I'll put links to Donnie's podcasts in the show notes. But thank you, Donnie, for calling with that. And thanks for the well wishes on our show anniversary.
Hey, Sean and Jim. I know it's been a while, so I figured I would check on in, especially since you just hit your milestone 3 episodes ago. As usual, I'm late to the party. What else is new? It's Ian, as if you couldn't tell. Just calling first off to congratulate you on 300 episodes. I don't know how you guys do it. As I sit here looking at my episode count, just started a little bit after you guys at about 130. Life keeps getting in the way, but you guys managed to crank them out, and And more power to you on that. Love that you guys are doing Nightfall. I'm definitely going to have to check that out, as I am way behind on my podcast listening. But whenever I can, I make sure to listen to you guys. Here's to at least 300 more. I'm sure you'll get there in about 2 months with your way that you guys usually output your episodes. All right, maybe another year or so. But either way, here's to continued success. And you know that I will be around if you ever want to do any other crossovers or things like that. You do. Comic Timing has your back. And I think Cassina might be sending in something to you guys, because he talked about it on our latest episode. Maybe you'll have a little blast from the past on that. What the hell's a flash from the past? Oh, right. That would be, I guess, Max Mercury, maybe? Or Barry Allen, pre-crisis? Yeah, that's a flash from the past. Let's go with that. All right, I'm rambling already. Congrats, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Laters.
Ian, actually, I've got to give Ian a lot of credit. Long time, obviously, for anybody who's listened to Raging Bullets for a long time, we have a long-time friendship with Ian Levenstein of Comic Timing. And Brent Cassina, actually. Brent's done BK Bullets for Raging Bullets. Before he was podcasting himself, he used to do these great segments for our show, BK's Bullets. And we are going to have Brent on for Blue Beetle. We didn't do it the first time through because we didn't do guests on our first wave of going through the New 52. We wanted it just to be Jim and me the first time through. So we're going to, this time through, I'll get Brent on for Blue Beetle and stuff like that we've been trying to do for, years now? It was like a couple series ago, right, for Blue Beetle?
It was multiple series ago.
But Ian, when he was doing Geek Speak, I went to a CGS. It was one of the first gatherings for Comic Geek Speak, and I met Ian there. And it was before I was podcasting, and Ian had me on Geek Speak, and he was doing an animation special, and that got me the bug. I had already been doing some call-ins for Comic Geek Speak, but it was the first time where I'd really gotten to do a whole podcast episode with somebody. So I have a great fondness for Ian and his own podcasting skills. And if you're not listening to Comic Timing, please be sure to check it out. It's a great podcast with great people and longtime friends of our show. I would not be podcasting if it wasn't for people like Ian. So...
Yeah, and we're not going to have another 300 episodes in a couple months. We'll have another 300 hours worth of content in a month or so, but not episode numbers.
It does amaze me sometimes that you and I, week after week, find time to be... Because we do, between our jobs, Jim and I do behind the scenes. And this is true for anybody podcasting. Everyone who's listening that's a podcaster just kind of nods and goes, yeah, I know, we get it. Ian was talking about, trying to find time to get caught up on podcasts and things. Ian's show is one of my favorite shows, too. And, from time to time, I get behind on his show. It's just, we all have weeks where we have better weeks to listen to things and, weeks, especially when you're podcasting, because for people listening here, you'll listen to your favorite podcast. If you're not a podcaster, you will... budget your time to fit in a podcast here and there. And our show, it might be that you would listen to a segment here and there of our show, which means you won't necessarily hear this. But it is one of those things that's interesting about podcasting. It's budgeting the time of not only prep, recording, and editing, but listening to your favorite content, reading your favorite comics. And, obviously our first order of business for both Jim and myself and for any podcaster is you've also got to give first priority to your job and relationships there as well. Everything from family to marriages and stuff like that. So it's a fun thing, podcasting, because it's a hobby. It's a labor of love. You guys make it all possible for us because if you guys weren't listening, we wouldn't be doing this. And that really is one of the reasons. Why do we crank out the episodes? Why does Ian crank out his episodes, every other podcaster? Because you people listen, and we really appreciate you. So kind of a thank you to our podcast listening audience, because we love you guys. That's why we're here.
Hey, this is Eddie Hobbs. I'm from Sumter, South Carolina. I need you to call and tell y'all thank y'all. I need to tell y'all that y'all do real good work. In September, I had a stroke at 49. I thought it was a good idea. It turns out it's a bad idea. Don't do it. But I did lose my whole left side. And to hear fans such as y'all relate so much to me, it was like having someone to talk to and listen to. I enjoyed your conversation. I agree with Jim more, though. Sorry. But you always are right. I need to tell you that for the record. But so I just needed to thank you because y'all are big for me every Saturday morning. I got to hear a new show, and it really helped me during my recovery, during workouts, during physical therapy, and I am back at work. I'm back up to about 80%. My son said I was only 75% before the stroke, so I'm already ahead. So I am recovering, but I just felt, gosh, a real need to thank y'all for the work y'all do and the service that y'all do. And gosh, I needed to thank you very much. And I'm a big Batman fan, and it's hard for me to disagree with things that they do. I've enjoyed going through Night Quest, and I'm looking forward to the end of those trade backs. I lived through them, and I was very excited about them as a young lad. And I really enjoy when Batman made himself back. I especially like the part that you're going to get to when Nightwing has to fight Bane by himself, and Robin gets real worried about Nightwing and said, we're going to leave him, and Batman says, Nightwing can handle him. We'll be back in a little bit. Oh, no, I thought that was cool. Anyway, I needed to thank you for my misfortune and how y'all comfort me and how y'all helped me, and what a great community. Thank you. Bye.
Dude, I want to start off first by saying you're like an inspiration to me. Because first of all, I've heard this voicemail twice now because I heard it the first time through when I recorded it so that way you could listen to it, Jim. And I didn't chuckle the first time through because I was, worried. You've got a listener calling up saying that he had a stroke, so you get worried about that. Second time through, though, there's twice I was chuckling. And I want to clarify this. One of the things I find inspirational about you went through this thing. I mean, a stroke is a scary thing to go through. And the fact that you can come back from that and find a sense of humor as a way to get through it and just, joke around like that, I just found really inspirational. So, I mean, dude, like today, right now, you're my hero by the fact that you went through all that and like you're calling up and, delivering a couple one-liners through it that were I thought genuinely funny in a situation that's very serious and I'm sure for you is a very scary situation. So I don't know. To me, Eddie, you're super cool. So I thought that was just a great, aside from the very kind words you just gave us about our show. But honestly, I got to say to you, I'm just kind of in awe right now, and it's very, very cool.
Yeah, that's hardcore, man. Coming back like that, that's a good job, and thank you. And you know what? You get a for that one, man.
It's funny. He touched on something. He was telling how he relates to you, and that he makes that connection. One of the things when I started Raging Bullets back when you and I first started recording together, I had a choice. Do I want to do a solo podcast? Because there's a lot of terrific solo podcasts out there. Or do I want to do something where I have other people on? One of the reasons why I wanted to have other people on is I know how I am. When it comes to comics, I love my comics. I'm like insanely, I have certain opinions that I just won't let go of because, I'm that kind of comic fan. I know what I like and I'm very passionate about it. I love the interplay with you and me because you throw me curveballs constantly. Like, I'm so totally set that, like, how could anybody else think anything but this? And you think something else but that, which I think is entertaining, especially when I'm floored by it and I will, like, argue insanely with you, and then you turn out to be right. No, I mean, which happens a lot of times. You'll do this Nostradamus thing where you'll throw out a scenario that I can't fathom. It's insane. Like, there's no way they would go in that direction. Then it turns out that, like, even if it's not, like, totally what you said, it's close enough that you got to sit there and say, Jim, who are you, like, talking to that you got that info? I love that kind of stuff. It's really the interplay of the show. And I do think that there's a certain point, one of the advantages of having more than one person on the show is, especially when they've got vastly different opinions like you and I do, and we come from different reading backgrounds, is that I do think there is a connectability where some people connect with me, some people connect with you, and some people wind up somewhere in the middle, and some people think we're both idiots.
We get that a lot, but I think I get more threatening emails. I get more hate mail than you do, I think.
From who?
Just general people.
What hate mail are you getting?
The occasional.
Are people are people sending stuff to your email box that I haven't seen?
Sometimes.
Are you serious?
I've gotten a couple over our experience. I usually just delete them because I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And
like recently?
Not recently.
I was going to say, I've got to be honest with you. I mean, like, I've gotten them too, where people will be critical of things that I do. I mean, it's not so. But I mean, I've got to say overall, our audience is quite kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. When we first started, I was getting more than what I was sharing with you because I knew how you'd react. So some of them I replied to, others I just hit delete and said, whatever, okay, But there was a couple moments in there where I was like, should I tell Sean about this one? No, because it was just one of those haters who gotta hate.
See, and I would have aired it. I would have aired it. Because I've aired every negative.
You over the edge, and you would have gotten mad, and you would have gotten enraged. I'm like,
that would have been great.
No point.
That would have made a great show segment, though. I do. I'll air all the. I air. We don't do. Let's clarify one thing. The reason why we used to do email segments on the show, for anybody who's listened to the older episodes, when we started a voicemail line, we stopped airing the voicemails as a priority because, to me, with offering a voicemail line, we offer all of you an opportunity to have your voice on the show. I think it in an audio medium, rather than me reading what you want to say, people being able to hear your voice and also the clarity of your expressing your emotions, there's not that chance of mistaking your intentions, if that makes sense. I think when you have to express it yourself through audio, there's not that I'm going to read your email the wrong way, putting more emphasis on certain words. I could change the tone of somebody's email, not doing it on purpose. But with audio, there's a great chance for you, like just in this one right here, just a really nice, pleasant email. I thought the way that he expressed that he connects more with you, he wasn't an insult to me. It was, just a pat on the back to you, and that he found like some kinship with your comments. And I thought I was like really happy with that. I mean, that was really a pleasant way to pat you on the back, which you deserve for what you do on the show. And I thought that was cool. I just a very pleasant, nice email. I do think we've got a really nice audience base for this show. And I will say that I think we've got a very kind audience base, even when people have been critical over the years. Overall, there's only been a few emails that I've had to air on the show that I felt were negative, and they were things that were, I wanted to make sure to share with the audience. But usually our audience, I think, is very kind and respectful of the fact that, we don't pretend to be professionals. We're really just fans doing a fanzine. And I really consider this show, I've come to consider this show very much a fanzine. We're a very niche show. We only cover DC because nobody else at the time when we started this, nobody else was doing it. DC Noise came afterwards, and DC Noise is terrific, by the way. But, I mean, when we were doing this, there was nobody else doing it, and I love the fanzine aspect of our show, and I think there's a lot of great fanzine podcasts like DC Noise. I'm throwing them a name out there just because I think they're a cool show, and that are out there doing great podcasting and all that. But I don't know, I really appreciate our audience base overall. I do wish you had shared that with me, because it's sometimes fun to see me go on insane tirades. Because it would have been an insane. I guarantee whatever it was, it would have been an insane rant. But you don't get a lot. You don't get a lot of that, though, do you?
Not anymore. When we first started, there was a lot of people who, they were angry with just, I used to make comments, on the show about I anger people. Well, the reason I said that was because people were just,
wow.
There was a couple that they were very angry with me and just and that, and I was accused of being very fake. That I was trying to try to create a false persona and hide behind this and that, and I was like, dude,
really?
I'm not an actor. This is who I am. This is me. This is the dialogue. What you hear from me is what you get. And, this is real, okay? This isn't an attempt or an acting or anything like that. It's, a couple of those people, those are the ones I replied to. And I said, dude, this is me. But there was a couple that they were just flat out rude. And I was like, I'm not going to bring the negative or the anger or the rage into the show. I'm just going to just hit delete. And if they were to reply back, maybe I would fire off something to them. But as a general rule, I didn't want to give them the power of the show. The show was about talk about what we like, not what we hate. And I wasn't going to give them an equal platform.
But when we've aired voicemails and emails like that before, it's usually from a newer listener who hasn't quite gotten into the theme of the show yet. And usually a lot of times when we respond to those people, it's one of the reasons why those things aren't bad things to air. I think usually when those people hear our response and an honest response that that's the theme of the show and that's what we're going for, they usually, a lot of times those people turn around, or, I feel that they'll realize maybe this isn't the podcast for them, and they can jump to a podcast that is more their style, which is fine. I think we've got an audience base right now that really understands what we do, for some insane reason likes it. No, I mean, I really do. All kidding aside, I appreciate our audience base for it. But the thing I find fascinating is that somebody was emailing you thinking that, like, either of us would choose, like, if we were going to, like, our breakout role was going to be playing us. This is it. This is the one that's going to get me into, like, people everywhere are going to flock to us because we're playing this dynamic role. Like, I'm sorry. If I was going to choose to play a role, or if you were going to we wouldn't play us, right?
Oh, God, no. This is,
That's really funny. See, I wish you had said that, because that would have been, you see what my response would have been to all that, because it's insane. That's crazy. Oh, that's funny. So you don't get a lot of that now, right? 'Cause I do think...
No. Nowadays, it's just general conversations with people and just, chit chat and whatnot. So I think it's been a long time since I've gotten hate mail. Of course, now that I'm saying that, I'll probably get flooded.
I think I'm going to make a couple email accounts to send you hate mail after all that. No, but one of the, I don't have time for any of that. One of the things that I will say about the podcasting audience in general now, I do think, now that podcasting is becoming more widespread, I do think the podcasting audience is a lot more savvy. You know what, though? I'm going to say this. I think always, though, the majority of your audience, whether it's podcasting, reading comics, or anything like that, I think a majority of the audience is actually like you and me. They're people who are just really content to enjoy the medium that they've picked up, or reading, or listening to, or whatever. That they're fans, and that's one of the reasons why we do the show that we do. I think we strike a chord with people who are like us. We're fans. We really enjoy just talking about what's great about this medium of comics. That's, I don't read my comics to get angry. I don't read my comics to trash them. I don't look for that panel that makes me mad. We talked to just one of the segments ago. I noticed something in Smallville, a little coloring error in there. But that, I didn't like sit all of a sudden go, oh my God, Smallville sucked. It was so terrible because of the fact that they did that. That's just not my experience. It was a great read. I really loved it, and I can't wait for the second issue. It was just something that I noticed that I chuckled at, and then I moved along. And I think that's the norm for us as fans. I really do. I think the overall comic fan community, it's why, fanboys, or fangirls, whatever you want to say for the label, I think that's why that label's been coined by us, because we are into this medium and we're geek out over it. And this is, I think, that audience base. That's fun. I don't know, his phone call, Eddie, that just sent me on I won't say it's a tangent, because it really is the theme that he's talking about. And, because he talked about the community. And that really struck a chord for me at the end when he said it's a great community. I do think I love our Facebook group right now. I think we're just a great crew of people that are there. There's people who, it's taken on a life of its own. There's people who are constantly posting things there, just posting links and information and dialogue. I feel like the Facebook group is run by those people, not any of us. I like to pop in to see what people are talking about. It's great. So I just want to thank, that community of people. But I also want to thank the silent majority of our audience, too. There's people who just listen to the show I never interact with, just because, you guys are busy, obviously, and you listen to us as an audio medium, and you're just kind of content to do that. And, obviously, by the fact that you keep coming back, you appreciate the show, and we appreciate you for listening. I want to shout out you people, too, because a lot of times we don't ever get to interact. And that's kind of cool as well. I don't know. I like all of it. The people we talk to regularly, the people we don't get to talk to. I like all of you. And I know it's just kind of an interest. I agree with Eddie. It's a cool community, whatever level you participate in. And I'm thrilled and blessed to be a part of this community. It's cool.
Hey guys, this is Adam Sibeli, and just wanted to get your thoughts on an Aquaman movie, if you would like to see an Aquaman movie. I think Aquaman is a character who deserves his own movie. I hope we get one. I know Green Lantern flopped, but yeah, I hope we get to see more DC characters that aren't Batman and Superman on the silver screen, like Flash or Wonder Woman. Anyway, you're doing a great job of the show, so 5.
Yeah, Adam makes an interesting point. An Aquaman movie. I liked the show Mercy Reef. You know that? Did you see that one episode?
Yeah, I saw the pilot.
Yeah, I thought that was a good introduction to a series. I thought that was going to be an interesting looking series. I think he's a character on the screen. One of the problems with Aquaman, and I think it's something that's been embraced in the Jeff Johns run, is the perception that people have of Aquaman. And I think if you do something like what Jeff Johns is doing in his book on the screen, I think it would really be a success. I mean, I think that's a template for how to make an Aquaman movie. Make those jokes, but then show why he's, such a bad character. I mean, Aquaman. Yeah. I mean, he's great. You don't want a parody. You don't want it slapstick. You want a good Aquaman movie that really shows what makes him cool. Again, I'm going to say the Jeff Johns run is what you want to go with right now. I think it's very contemporary. It's very today. I know I always refer to on the show as Peter David run because that was the one that brought me to the dance with really understanding the cool factor of Aquaman. But I would say today you got to go with the Jeff Johns run because it's very today. It's very modern. It's this generation's awesome, cool Aquaman. And I think it embraces all elements of what's been great about Aquaman in his past, too. I think it would be a great movie.
I've actually had conversations about the Aquaman series at work. People will, make and the one guy that he should know by now not to make an offhanded or just a subtle comic book reference because it's going to get me going and it's going to launch a good 15-minute tirade on something. And, occasionally he'll throw it out there, then realize, what did I just say? I shouldn't have said that. And I can't remember, it was, I want to say Family Guy or one of those cartoons did an Aquaman joke, and he was just saying it to me, and that just got me going on the current run. And it was about the Aquaman, just his perception, how no one wants to be Aquaman, and I just went on and just started telling him exactly about what Jeff Johns is doing, what they're doing with the series, and by the end of my 15-minute conversation, he was like, really? That actually sounds kind of cool. And he immediately was sold into it. So Aquaman is definitely a character I would like to see in a movie. I would love to see a Wonder Woman movie, a Flash movie. There's such a deep history of comic book characters that they could pull from. But the problem is them taking the chance. And they got to, Batman and Superman always do well in the theaters. They make money, so they're not going to take the chance on, another character. They tried with Green Lantern. It wasn't a blockbuster hit, so they're going to shy away. It's the unfortunate politics in movie making and television making. There's so much more they could be doing. And even on the Marvel side, there's so much more they could be doing, but they just won't take the chance. They won't pony up the money.
I'm gonna actually defend the Marvel side of filmmaking a lot. They threw out a lot of characters that I didn't see them making movies of. A great example would that be Elektra. They threw Elektra out as a film, and I don't think that was considered super successful at the time. I liked it. I liked both Daredevil and Elektra. I actually liked Daredevil's director's cut even more. They released on video or DVD. The director's cut of that, I thought it was really great. Actually, I'll say the same thing about Green Lantern. I thought the director's cut of Green Lantern was way better, too. So I don't know. I mean, I do think they take chances with films. I think the problem is when you do, like, a Catwoman and you do, like, some of those, actually, let me separate Catwoman from Elektra, because I really enjoyed Elektra. But when you do those types of films where they aren't as successful as the studio wanted, it makes them a little gun-shy because Hollywood's a movie-making, it's like the comic book side. We don't want to talk about the business end of it. The Hollywood side's, there's a business end of it, too. I think the cool thing that Marvel has done is, and it was on our Facebook page, and I'm not going to take credit for this, but I thought it was an excellent point. They set out from the beginning with releasing Thor and Iron Man and Captain America, and the way that they did this, they made this interconnected universe. And there was these cool little teasers at the end of the films that were connecting you to the next movie. They made you feel like, even though they weren't sequels to each other, like when Thor's Hammer, when we saw that for the first time, you saw that in another movie. It wasn't in Thor. These movies get you anticipating each other by the cool little teasers at the end. And I think that theme of interconnectability and these are part of the same universe and the same world builds a loyalty to each new film as it comes out. And the fact that they stayed very true to the comics, while at the same time doing great movie pacing. Let's use Aquaman as an example. I'll tell you how to make a great Aquaman movie, okay? And I'm going to use Jeff Johns' comic as an example. Jeff Johns' first issue of Aquaman did not start out with Aquaman's origin. It started out with a really cool action Aquaman moment where he's sitting there, then you get that impressive pose of him sitting there looking like he is going to kick your butt. You know, I mean, it's one of those moments where on screen you see him looking majestic on that, like really showing you what Aquaman's all about. You're going to make people a believer. That makes for a great trailer. You got great action sequences with the character. That's going to draw people in. You can do a quick... I would not do Aquaman's first movie as a full-blown origin. I would do it as a full... Drop us into Aquaman action. Let's see him doing what Aquaman does. Do a little bit of a little flashback or whatever, fit into the story, kind of like how Jeff Johns has done, where he's had a supporting cast who has a connection to Aquaman's past, that guy, you know, that doctor that, you know, did some experiments involving Aquaman and stuff like that. Great way to show a little bit of Aquaman's past history and have Aquaman reflect on it. You want to do that, but I don't think that every film has to have these deep-rooted, like, origin stories. I think what you need to show us in Aquaman, if you're going to make people a believer in Aquaman, is why Aquaman is so cool. Put Mira in there if you're going to put her in there. Maybe you can develop their relationship, maybe, you know, some early teasers to her powers and develop their relationship, or have them full-blown in their relationship. It's okay if a couple films down the road you start gradually fleshing out their backstory more and more. I don't think you have to have every little bit of their backstory in every single movie. I think what you need to do in an Aquaman movie is set out to make you a believer right from the get-go why Aquaman is one of the cooler heroes that people don't realize. And that's how I'd make a good Aquaman movie. I would use the exact tone and theme that's currently running in Jeff Johns' series. It's not all about the backstory. It reveals cool things we never knew about his backstory in the midst of great Aquaman action. It's about showing us who this character is, showing us the drama and the things that he has to face, the regrets that he has. You know, you got to show the duality. Is he human? Is he part of the sea? He has loyalties to both worlds. He wants to belong to one, but can't seem to belong to just one because he is a part of both worlds. And that conflict and duality is a very interesting and unique psychological part of him. You know, it does put conflict in the case, you know, does he side with Atlanteans? Does he side with the humans? And you can add, like, those cool... That can be told in the midst of storytelling with a villain without you having to have this long, drawn-out origin to him. So I'm not saying don't reveal his backstory. You can do that, but do it subtly. You know, little bits and pieces throughout there with some great action sequences. I just think he's a cool character. I think the way that the book's being paced right now is exactly the way that you should put this guy on screen. Yeah, I'm not saying that you would have to take Jeff Johns' story like panel by panel. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that there is a pacing and a development there that I think would work really well on the big screen. Some of those spreads in that series, to me, belong in a trailer. Live action. That will draw people to the theaters because they're going to go, what?
Yeah.
Who's that guy? It's not Funny Fish Dude anymore. It's, whoa, I want to be Aquaman. See, you can convince people that they want to be Aquaman by doing the right kind of trailer with him. I think he's a character that would work well on the big screen. Green Lantern, I still say, have you ever seen the director's cut? Have you actually seen that yet?
No, I haven't yet.
You know, you've got to see it at some point because to me, you see, I think it's the movie that should have been put out in the theaters. I really, really do. I think it would have. I think it would have watched a little differently for people. I think it would have had a better fan reaction. Not that I see. I don't know. A lot of the criticisms I see about Green Lantern, I think are people being nitpicky. I thought it was a good film. I really do. I think that there was an opportunity there for that film. I think sometimes fans are our own worst enemy when it comes to films like that because I thought some of the negative buzz was unfair for that film. Was it the best superhero movie ever? No. You know, I mean, but was it a good superhero film? Yeah. I think the director's cut was a significantly better superhero film, though. I don't know if people agree with me or not, and that's fine if you don't, but that's my personal opinion is I really enjoyed it when I saw it in the film. I saw it in 3D. I was amazed. I had a great time seeing it. And the director's cut, I just added another dimension and level to it. But I already enjoyed it. I admit, when I walked into the director's cut, I was not disappointed with the film that I saw in the theater. So I don't know if it turned anyone around. Actually, I would love to hear that at some point. Feel free to call in or post on our Facebook group or something like that if you had a different experience with Green Lantern where like maybe you didn't like the film in the theater and you saw the director's cut and found it better. Because I can't speak to that. I liked it in the theater. I would love to see if that turned it around for people in maybe a way. Because, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot that they added, but it was enough of the history with Hector and stuff like that. There was a lot more of Hal's youth brought in that I thought really just rounded off the film in a way that I thought was really cool. But that's just my take. What was your take on Green? Did you like Green Lantern?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah. So it's one of those, I'm really disappointed that it didn't do better because, that sequel, I think, is in jeopardy. And I would love to see the sequel to it because that ending with Sinestro, I want to see that. Dude, how could you not want to see that?
The Sinestro Corps War. I want to see that so bad. I want to see the birth of the Yellow Lanterns and just, whether they'll add the other colors in and just how far they'll go with this. And yeah, I definitely would. I would still opening night see the sequel. And I'm not an opening night guy, but I would for that because. That's part of the problem. There was so much story to tell in the Green Lantern that by them trying to chop it down to the typical movie length, they kind of hurt it, but they couldn't go over because when they did that with Watchmen, it turned people off. So it's a tough balance. And when you're making the movies, what's the right balance of too much?
Well, I think my thing with that was I agree with you. They could have added more. I think the director's cut did that. I don't think it necessarily added enough to convert the non-believers in it, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think you had two different movies going on, and that's why I guess I'm saying for Aquaman, I don't know that I would focus so much on the origin, because I don't know that necessarily, unless you're really going into the psychological impact of that, I don't think it's necessary to go too crazy with his origin. You can always use that in a later movie if it's successful to, further the character. I think Green Lantern had two different movies going on. It had the origin and that cool, first experiences on Oa and stuff like that. Then you had this deep-rooted Parallax story going on. And then you had Hector going on. There was a lot of, like you're saying, a lot of story going on in that film. And I think it would have been better served to focus on, one or two of those things instead of all of that. And the romance with Carol.
Yeah. And the Sinestro story. And those right. You keep throwing more and more and this and that. And I think that was the biggest problem that the Green Lantern movie had was there was just too much going on. And
do you think you had to know? I guess maybe this is the issue. I walked in there loving all that, but I maybe it's because I know so much about that universe. Although there were fans of Green Lantern who were not very happy with it, so I don't know. I guess I was thinking maybe my advantage why I enjoyed it so much was I like Green Lantern a lot. I love that. I love all those people, and I was glad to see so much of that. Do you think maybe that's what it was? I think for a person who doesn't know Green Lantern, that was too much?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I ran into the problem with a lot of non-comic book people didn't go see it because the first thing they did was they listened to what the fanboys were saying, and they just kept hearing negative stuff, so they didn't go. And I remember talking to the one guy at work, and he's like, "What did you think?" And I told him I liked it. I thought it was it's a solid movie. And he's like, "You're the first positive person I ever heard anybody say about it." Wow. He wasn't planning on going, and to be honest, I don't know if he ever did see the movie, just because he's not a comic book fan, but he kind of likes that genre and that superhero style movies. But he doesn't do opening night. He waits to see what happens.
And it had negative buzz going into opening night. I remember seeing that movie, and it already was getting negative buzz, which was something that I think, hurt it. Because I was excited as can be for opening night, but do you remember that? I mean, the lead up to that one was, just for comparison purposes, look at the lead up to Avengers. You were hearing nothing but great things about Avengers leading up to Avengers. Like Green Lantern, there was a cloud over that movie leading up to it, which was, I think, just a very different experience. I have to wonder if there had been more positive buzz, if it would have developed more of a casual audience that way. You know what I mean? Like if people would have gone and seen it and fallen in love with it, or if it would have been too busy. I don't know. It would have been interesting to see how that film turned out if the buzz had been different going into it. So I don't know. You can't go back, obviously, and change all that. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation because I think I'm always amazed by the superhero movies that, like Watchmen, you threw out there before. I loved Watchmen, but that was another one that a lot of fans either loved or didn't care for. So, and I think the casual audience was pulled in by that as well. So I don't know. It's tough to launch these films in Hollywood. I would love to see DC follow a Marvel model, though. And when I say DC, I mean Warner Brothers, DC, the whole parent company, and everything, in the sense where, moving forward, like this is the third of the Batman trilogy, and we're leaving Christopher Nolan after this, and I'm pretty much so assuming I think that's it for Christian Bale as well. I'm only tentative on that because I don't know if they would try to re-sign him. I'm thinking, though, at this point, because I heard all kinds of rumors, even including Ryan Reynolds being Batman next, which I don't know how true that is or where that's going. But what I would love them to see with the next Batman movie and with the Superman movie that's coming out, Man of Steel, it's time to craft a DC universe. They mentioned that on our Facebook group. You need to do that in these films. Make some connectability. Make us believe from the get-go these people are a part of the same world. And you start developing an audience of people that feel on the inside with these heroes. And they'll start building some loyalty to the films. Because they're interconnected. They'll start seeing, if you liked Superman, you're going to go see the new Batman afterwards. If you like the new Batman, then you'll see Aquaman because it had a teaser of Aquaman. Then the Aquaman has a teaser of Green Lantern. This is building the Justice League, so everyone's anticipating Justice League. So you got that Justice League energy and that connectability. Marvel's done that very well with their films leading up to Avengers. And I got to be, Avengers it blew me away. I thought it was a great, great film. I thought everything leading up to Avengers was awesome. I'm a lot of times on this show we don't talk Marvel because we're a DC show. I mean, and to spend podcast episodes when we barely have enough time to fit in our content to going off on a Marvel tangent. But this show is not a negative response in any way to Marvel or any other comics out there. It's just we're a niche show and fanzine, to this particular comic line. But I love Marvel stuff. I love all comic stuff. And boy, when you have something delivered so well as what Marvel and Disney's done, Disney now, and Marvel has done with this whole Avengers universe that they've crafted, I don't know, it was a home run. It was great. Avengers was just an amazing ride. Hulk was the MVP to me. For anybody who saw it, I hope you know what I know you know what I mean. We saw so many great, I think, teasers with Iron Man, who's incredible leading up to it. I loved all that. So we've got a Hulk in the film. Man, did they have a Hulk. Hulk was just so many moments where I was just, because Hulk was Hulk. And it was great how, and they played off of the fact that it is Hulk. He is the Beast. There is Banner in there, and, there's moments where you kind of see some of that reasoning in the Hulk, but, he's still the Hulk. It is that rage. And I don't know. It's just a great, great film. And the way the characters fought together, and there's some great tandem moments between the team where it's, like, really fluid and organic. It's one of those on my short list of just, I think, one of the better superhero movies of all time. Avengers is one that I will continually watch over and over again. And I want to see more of that from Warner DC. And I think you can build to that. I really do. I think there's an opportunity. I think Man of Steel can be the kickoff for that. I hope that it is for them. Because, and that's a successful film, and it starts launching a franchise that would lead to the Justice League film. I want to see that.
Oh, God, yeah, so much. I'm just sitting here just silently nodding my head in agreement with you and just, yeah.
And I do think that, that's a gateway to do films like Aquaman. I do. I think that's the way you do it. You let people know right from the get-go, hey, this is connected to Justice League. This is where we're heading, baby.
Can Batman escape? One hint, the worst is yet to come.
Jim, our next review is Earth 2. The writer is James Robinson, penciler Nicholas Scott, inker Trevor Scott, colorist Alex Sinclair, letterer it's Desi, Sienty, any apologies for any butchery there, cover by Ivan Rice, Joe Prado, and Rod Rice. And you said you thought it was Yvonne Rice, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so if I'm butchering that, and I'm probably butchering lots of that in there, I really apologize because the terrific creative team there. Variant by Brian Hitch and Paul Mounts. Special thanks to Andy Kubert. Assistant editor is Sean Makowitz, and the editor is Pat McCallum. Dude.
Oh, my God. Let the gushing begin, because this was absolutely breathtaking, wonderful, a fabulous story. This is something that I was just like, I didn't know where I was going to go. I saw a couple sneak peeks on the art and just started seeing little bits here. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And wow.
Well, I had no idea what to expect, because I didn't know, like, was this developing a universe for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman? We're going to be of that world. We're going to also be a key focus of the JSA moving forward. I mean, let's just jump in and talk about it, because we start off right away with Darkseid. And here's my question. Are these the same parademons from our world? Like, is there... Because I remember in multiverse storytelling in the past, I don't know that there was a different apocalypse. There wasn't.
Yeah,
because there was a JSA...
apocalypse.
Right, that all the multiverse worlds would face. So is this the same Darkseid that we've already seen in JLA? I don't know. I'm curious about that. But if so, they've invaded this world, and Steppenwolf is their leader, and we've got one of Darkseid's minions being their leader and going in. And we've got this battle in this world where it's the Trinity versus them. There isn't a Justice League, right? This is the Trinity is kind of the superheroes of this world. Yeah,
this is what we have. This is the main... go-to and/or these are the defenders. It's not, we don't have the same established type of hero level. So it's when it comes down to the fight, it's these guys. This is where you got to go to.
And I really like. I mean, we do have their sidekick. Like we got Supergirl, which I caution to call her, the sidekick of Superman. But her family relationship with Superman's in play here. Wonder Woman doesn't have anybody she's close to because the Amazons are now gone. Lois Lane's dead. The Amazons are dead, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Amazons got slaughtered in part of the invasion.
Right. And then we've got Batman, who his daughter's Helena, but where's Helena's mom? I guess I'm assuming it's Catwoman. Was that established?
No, it never was mentioned. So I'm assuming that they're going to maybe eventually talk about it in their series, World's Finest, but. In the comic, I don't remember them making reference to Mom or who Mom is or any of that.
So I'm making an assumption that I don't know that's not necessarily. It could be Talia. Who knows? We'll have to find out along the way. I actually really like the mystery. We know what happened to Lois. We know sort of what happened to the Amazons. I mean, you're right. Everything you said's correct, and we know that something happened in Batman's case. But we don't really know what that is. What do you think of their costumes?
I think they look cool.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I really, really dig Wonder Woman's look. It's at that whole battle armor, and as I say, I'm a fan of the pants, I'm a fan of the full legs, but right here you're seeing just a really cool Wonder Woman outfit. And it's funny, I'm actually getting more and more accepting and understanding towards the smaller Wonder Woman outfit, and where it's coming from is an odd source. It's the Spartacus the Spartacus series that's going on Starz, and you see these gladiators. They're not heavily armored. They're very, they're fighting in loincloths basically, and some, maybe a shoulder shield or an arm shield, and you see them use the maneuverability, the flexibility to their advantage. And yeah, they don't have this massive armor to protect them, but they don't need it because they're speed. They don't need it because they're such heightenedly trained and they're so focused on combat that the maneuverability is their weapon, is their armor. It's the fact that you can't hit them is what makes them, a better warrior. And getting that connection, getting that train of thought really has me going with the Amazons and with Wonder Woman. She's been so trained that she doesn't need the extra body armor. She doesn't need the protection. It's second nature for her to, be 360 fighting. And that's something I really, really enjoyed, was seeing just her fighting. There was this great Wonder Woman fear, ferocity, but there was also the skilled warrior. You can see her fighting on multiple multiple targets, bam, 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 just being she's the Amazon, and I loved seeing that. And this was, again, it really started sinking in what everyone's been telling me, and I've heard from multiple arguments about why she has the costume the way she does. And this was, again, a couple armor accents, but as a general rule, she needs to keep mobile. She needs to keep flexible, and I really got into that.
You know, Jim, we have something on our website called Where's Whatnot Now, and I would love to publicly right now issue a challenge to anybody who's good with Photoshop. Spartacus of the Whatnot. Seeing as Jim is embracing the functionality of the loincloth. Anybody who wants to do that, I would be happy to post those up on our website.
you know, you'd think that I know after 6 years to watch what you say. But God.
Spartacus of the Whatnot. By the way, I'd like to talk about the functionality of the bat suit. Or Superman's outfit, for that matter. No, all kidding aside, I really agree with you on... I think the whole look of these guys is great, because Superman, his look, I don't know, this to me is just... I'm sad all three of these people are dead, because I thought their outfits were absolutely tremendous. I love Superman's look here. To me, this is the right amount of classic with a modern flair to it. You know, it's got that kind of today look, yet it's that dun-dun-dun Superman look that's just, I don't know, just out of this world for me. I love Batman's look in all this. A little bit more armored and functional. I want to know more of their backstory from the battle outfits that both Batman and Wonder Woman are wearing. Because it's not just Wonder Woman who's wearing the outfit that you're mentioning. Batman's more battle armored. Is that the way you're looking at him too?
Oh, definitely. This is the armored version of his costume. He needs the fortification, but Batman still needs to be mobile. He needs to be flexible because that's his fighting style. And the thing that really got me on the second and third read through, when I started looking at artwork, it was some of the little stuff, like you can see the lacing going up around Wonder Woman's side of her costume. And you could see the little kind of the bat emblem sort of knee pads that he has for armor, on his legs. And there was just stuff like that. I was like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's cool. There was just so many little moments like that, little attention to detail, little extra stuff in these armor and the costumes that really just kind of had me going, dang, that's awesome.
I love the gauntlet on her one arm and the regular bracelet on the other. I just thought that looked really cool. The whole look was great. And just, I don't know. I want to compliment, besides the terrific artwork, because I've mentioned on the show, I'm a Nicola Scott junkie. It's great to have her back on a monthly. But besides that, the lettering and the coloring of the lettering and how that all worked out, I loved the dialogue transitions between the internal dialogue of this Superman, this Wonder Woman, and this Batman. In a very short stretch of time, creatively, they did a great job of getting us to know visually and through dialogue these characters. The whole creative team really just hit a home run with that, because by the time these people are dying, I mean, yeah, it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. I always care about those characters anyway, but I care about this Superman. I care about this Batman. I care about this Wonder Woman because of the development right away in the midst of a battle. This is another great example of this is how you kick off. Wait, another movie template right here. Jump us right into this kind of nonsense. We don't know these guys. Yeah, we know the story of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but we don't know these people in a very short period of time without going crazy into origins. This is what I was talking about earlier when it came to movies. This is what you do.
Yeah.
Put us in like this, get me excited, and then I didn't see them killing them. Did you?
No. I was thinking that what this was going to be is the launch over, they had to explain how and why Huntress and Power Girl left. But I really didn't, for some reason, wasn't thinking they were going to kill them until once I saw the first one die. I'm like, okay, all three of them are dying. I knew right away, okay, this is what's going to happen and where it's going to go. But I still, because it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, I still, as I started reading this, thinking, okay, they're going to live. Because it's them. They have to. This is going to be the way it goes, and that we're going to see other heroes birth from this. Or I was thinking, it was going to flash forward 10 years down the line, and I was thinking we were going to get the old Superman, older Batman, and it was going to be the next generation of heroes. But I I wasn't thinking death initially, but it was something that it just really hit you, and you're like, whoa, these are some epic heroic deaths, and these are some great dying moments, and it really locked me in and got me into these characters, but it also got me into Power Girl, and also got me into Huntress or Supergirl and Robin, however you wish to refer to them. This was some really great moments, and these are moments that were told beautifully in artwork, as well as the story surrounding it. And by artwork, I am also echoing what you said on the lettering, on the coloring, on the pencils, on the inks. This was something that just everything came together. I want to say turned it up to 11, and I was just like, wow.
This is comic book perfection.
Oh, God, yeah. This right here is just a boom. This is a great combo. Everybody firing on all cylinders, and like this Batman sequence, it's when he's getting to the tower, when he's approaching it, just that close up of him, you see the parademon coming up behind him. Next panel is when the parademon catches, but no, Robin's there for the save. Robin's there for the backup. And I love just seeing how that just played out. And then you go back and reread, and you start seeing the battle-damaged city. You start seeing all the destruction in the backgrounds. Then you start looking at the detail on his face, the etchings, just the grim determination, the functionality of the costume, the suit, the more armored gauntlets, the more armored legs, just some extra firepower he probably has on him just because of this monumental, this is it. This is the last-ditch effort to defeat the bad guys. There is no failure in Batman. He has to be. Superman and Wonder Woman, they're distraction. He's the main guy, and he's your go-to guy. And I love the fact that these three monumental heroes are doing this way. This is the only way you can go. And it was something that even after the first read-through, it still had an effect. It still got an emotional response, and I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming down the line. I knew how they were going to die, but I was still like, whoa, that is something. And it still hits you.
I loved their connection. We always know about the Trinity being connected because they are the premier heroes of the DC universe. Their longevity, their respect for their work ethic, their respect for their fighting styles, getting to know each other's ins and outs. In this world, though, we see three of them who faced loss. And, I mean, yes, Batman's loss of his parents, obviously, but then there's been more loss other than that he's faced recently. Wonder Woman losing the Amazons. Superman losing Lois in his city of Metropolis. These are people that are connecting now, and I think the reason why they're still functioning is they've grown closer together out of that loss. And then there's a common ground there that you don't always get to see with the Trinity. That I think it's a different exploration of the Trinity. It's the Trinity on this world with what they've gone through. They've been to very dark places, and I think together they've banded together to suck it up and like really make this stand to try and make things right and put an end to what's happening in this world. In many ways, they're going to become symbols from this. One of the things that I always loved about classic Justice Society storytelling was the reverence towards, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. The reverence to these being like leadership material for their, Justice Society and all that. And, that they kind of drove the younger generation to keep going. In this case, we're really seeing a world that has developed these guys as martyrs who gave their lives to really save everybody. It's a great way to have them be an inspiration for a Jay Garrick, for an Alan Scott, for an Al Pratt moving forward. This is just a great introduction. I did not expect this to go this route because I thought the Trinity was going to be around in this. Just because of the way they were showing the teaser. Wow, did they shoot me in a different direction on this one. And I really, really loved that aspect of it.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. This was something that, as I said a couple of times now, it just really was just something that just hit me. And this was something I was like, when I first read it, I'm like, oh my God, I want to talk about it right now. And I've been kind of biting my tongue and just holding back, before this. It was one of the, I'm not as active online as you are, and this was one where I jumped on the keyboard. I wanted to start talking and saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it on the show. That'll be where I get going and where I get rolling. And it was something that one of the things also that the pacing build up, then calm, build up and then calm, and it was and it wasn't even just like a build up letdown. It was a build up calm, and then there's another platform and another platform to that boom monumental moments, and then as soon as you have that big boom, all the fallout and everything just starts rushing afterwards. You have these great fight sequences where the Trinity is dealing with this. You got some cool Robin moments coming in for the save, and then they go and they show Kara and they show Power Girl and they show her escorting the nukes, and it's just this very calm moment. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to hit the fan, because you just know it's going to happen. You know there's going to be some cool action sequence going on, and they did that. But they built up these characters. They built up her. They showed us, what the backup plan for Batman's, plan is. And I really just love the fact that they took the time to make sure that the world isn't just these three. Yeah, it's huge, monumental what they're doing, but there's other stuff going on. And every time I read this, I was looking at it, trying to figure out, see if I can see people. The one sequence, they call the one guy Harper, and I immediately think, is that Roy Harper? Are they introducing a possible Red Arrow, Green Arrow, or something else in this? Is this
you know who they're introducing there, don't you?
Who?
Al Pratt. Do you know who Al Pratt is? He's the original Atom.
Oh, okay.
So Sergeant Al Pratt, he's going to be Atom.
Oh,
and there's that whole atomic thing that's going on, so I don't know how that's going to lead into the direction with him. But that's leading into he's going to be the Atom.
And I didn't even notice that because he was so short. And they have that whole kind of height joke that they were making and all that.
Yeah, but that's going to be the original Atom. So something's coming with him because of his involvement in this. And I don't know what it's going to be, but that's kind of cool. So they're setting up. So far they've set up Al Pratt in this, Alan Scott, and Jay Garrick.
Oh, okay. That went completely over my head. Oh.
So, yeah, I was geeking out. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I've mentioned with reverence on the show many times the JSA series. And this first issue, right out of the starting, I remember reading the first issue of that and just being blown away. This has that for me. This is exactly what I was hoping for this. It's not at all what I expected. And that series, when that first came out, one of the things that was great about that series is I was really interested in it because it was going to explore the JSA, and I'm like, okay, I'm into that. I love legacy characters and all that. I'm into it. That series did things that I never expected in a million years. This first issue is doing that for me, blowing me away, showing me things that I didn't expect. I know James Robinson and loves these characters. I know that we're going to see the right amount of classic with modern with these guys. I'm so curious to see what he's going to do with them. The whole Al Pratt thing, I'm like, yes, Al Pratt! Ugh! I'm geeking out over that bit. In the midst of all this, great pacing of bumping us right back to the Trinity then.
Yeah.
And not realizing, where this is going, because they're doing these flashbacks to the build-up to this, and that Batman's got a plan. Not realizing how dire this plan is. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are planning something that, at this moment, Batman knew he wasn't walking away from. It was that important to him. He knew he was not going to escape this when he made this plan. And that was their dialogue about him. They've got Batman. He's the guy that came up with this plan. I just thought was tremendous.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And this is something that second and third read through read completely different, these sequences. Because the first read through, they're at the plan. Yeah, naturally Batman's the one with the plan because that's him. That's what he does. He's a strategist. He's the great thinker. But the second, read through, when he's going to die and he's laying out the plan, it's a no-win situation for him. He knows he's going to die no matter what. You start seeing just how they did the coloring and just how they did the seriousness. And he's always serious. He's always a little bit more in the shadows and whatnot than the others. But this really kind of accented it, knowing what was going on. This was some great just foretelling of it. And a couple of the cool the sequences that showed the more close up of the eyes and just that intensity as he's talking about, this the parademons will fall from the sky, and just I was like, yeah, this is Batman. He's taking them down, and it was just like, and then right after that you got Superman and Wonder Woman. You're saying you need time? We'll give you time. And it's, again, this the tone that's being said. It's not a arrogance. It's not we're the best at what we do. This is no problem. No, this is a serious nature. This is a serious moment that is, we'll give it to you. We'll do this. We'll lay down everything we got. It's all about heart and soul. This is it. This is the Hail Mary pass. This is the last stand. This is your Alamo moment. This is it. It's, do or die. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. And you get that feeling, yes, this is your Trinity. This is why these three are these monumental heroes.
Now, the gods of this world are dying too. So Darkseid's crew is killing gods like Minerva, killing gods, all the way through, as we're going through. Mars, he mentioned, that was also dead. So these are characters that are falling in battle against there. Mercury's really the discussion that he's having with Diana. We're still here for you. We are still fighting for you and with you in this battle to try and take down Apocalypse and its minions. And it really adds an intensity to what we talk about how Superman and Wonder Woman have godlike powers. They're really fighting a battle where actual gods, are dying. And that added a great pacing and intensity. I didn't see where Mercury was going in this. I had no idea, because I guess, I was looking back to, the way that Jay Garrick's been more interconnected in our universe with the Speed Force and with our Barry Allen and stuff like that. I love the idea that this is going in the direction where he's going to get his powers from Mercury.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I was thinking of is, because the traditional Wonder Woman is the Greek gods. Now, are they saying that she's connected more to the Roman gods, or are they saying that both the Roman and the Greek gods exist, and she is connected to them all?
I think we're seeing that this world has different rules than our world.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, because I'm like, part of me was thinking that they're saying she's connected to the Roman gods, which to me I think would be a really cool connection and a real cool way to look at it. But, again, we've seen multiple gods being used in our world, so there could be just multiple gods, and it just happens to be that Mercury is relating to what's going on with the other gods. But all the ones he mentions here are, Roman gods.
And I took it as, in this world, she's connected to the Roman gods.
Yeah, that's, I don't, yeah.
Or they're taking the Roman names are used here. It's a different connection, mythos-wise, than what is, they're the same. That's kind of tricky. I separate them. Greek and Roman gods and stuff like that, but I would take it to this world because I think that was done on purpose to connect her with the Roman gods in this world. So I connected that the same way you did. I didn't take it as she was connected to both on this world. I took it as, in this world, that they have that theme of being connected to the Roman gods. I don't know. That's just how I took it.
Yeah, I took it that it was the Roman god connection. But again, as any time when I'm sitting there with a book, I start thinking off page and think beyond this, the one simple answer, because there's never just one answer. There's always like two or three. And I really like the fact that she would be connected to the Roman gods in this world as opposed to the Greeks. And that got me thinking, what was Paradise Island like? Because that would have a completely different architectural style to it. That would have a different layout. And again, you talk about, I want to know these these members of the Trinity. Jim, really want to know Wonder Woman.
Maybe somebody will ask her about it next issue. I did not see where this was going with Steppenwolf when he ran her through. I was like, oh, no, because that was my first indication. Oh, my gosh, they're doing this?
Yeah.
And when he ran her through, I knew none of them were making it. That was that for me was the moment where I'm like, oh, my gosh, they're taking out all of them.
Yeah, she wouldn't. If she's going to go, I knew right there. As I said, you're thinking that they're going to make it. When she died, that was it. I'm like, oh, God, they're killing off all three of them, because there's no way they would just kill off one of them. And then it was funny because I kind of smacked myself in the head saying, duh, this is Earth 2, this is the world without these heroes. This is where we see the next generation. This is where we see, and it's all really started making more sense to me that they would kill him off. But that was just a whoa moment. And even when, after reading it, even after knowing how she dies, even after seeing just the look of just on her face as she's getting run through, and then seeing just Clark's reaction to it, I was like, holy crud, this is huge.
Now, because of what happens to Cal and Supergirl hearing that, she leaves her escort duties with the armed forces. And we see Al Pratt right behind that, that big atomic thing right behind him, that on the tank, being surrounded by parademons, setting up obviously what's going to happen to him. And it is because of Cal's death that it sets this chain reaction now of Supergirl leaving her post, Al Pratt being put into this position. We see Batman inside the tower. The distraction worked. Batman made it. And I thought that was great. I love the intensity in that moment that, the two are dead now. And this is, Batman's now going to be able to accomplish his goal. And I was clear of this one. I'm like, oh, he's not walking from this. And that was some. I didn't think it was going to be him sacrificing himself, though. Again, I thought that somehow he was going to, in his dying breath, save everybody or something like that. I didn't think it was going to be him succeeding and that being no way out, and telling Robin to go. I loved that moment where he's telling his daughter, this was the intention all along. I knew I wasn't going to make it out. I knew that this would kick off the self-destruct, and there's no way for you to get me out of here. Imagine having that conversation with your child. I just love the way that was written because, I was, hanging with his daughter's every word. They're, saying to myself, oh, my gosh, what effect is this going to have on her in our world? Both of them now, Power Girl and Huntress, are in our world dealing with this tremendous loss that they both just witnessed. Now we say just witnessed. They've been in our world for a decent amount of time now. But, that was when they first dropped over here. That's what they were dealing with.
Yeah, and reading through this sequence reminded me of back in Identity Crisis when Tim is talking to his dad over the phone through Oracle. And you see the dad just saying, hey, and he's making sure that Tim's like, hey, I'm proud of you, and just saying all those things about, don't blame yourself for this. This is, you're doing a good thing. And just as he's going over figuring, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to survive. And Tim, the desperation in Tim's voice that I still get, and I still get a little choked up when I think of that scene, just knowing over the radio he's hearing his dad dying, and this whole thing with Helena. And I just, you don't see a lot of tender, moments of Bruce. You don't think of him as the cuddly father figure, but I just love that there's no don't today either. I must. Oh, my brave, wonderful soldier, live for me. I love you, Helena. And just the look on his face of just that tender, loving father. And it was just like, oh my God, this is just, it was a heartbreaker, and it was a tearjerker. And I was just like, dang, I really want to know these characters. I wish I could find a story of telling them before they died, and just seeing. And I'm hoping in the World's Finest, we're gonna get these father-daughter moments. We're gonna find out what kind of dad this Batman was, and just we're gonna find out about the mom. We're gonna find out all this different stuff, and I'm just like, wow.
I liked out of this whole thing, we saw Huntress and Supergirl go after Steppenwolf out of anger and rage. They're like, this is our chance to get the guy that did this to us, that destroyed members of our family. So they've got that common connection as they go through. And it bumps us into a nice little teaser for heading over into World's Finest for this. I thought it was really great that we got to see this pivotal moment spin out of this series. Then we go to what's obviously much later, Alan Scott remembering all of the loss that day. And I really liked seeing that this is a guy who is kind of the pretty boy. It's common for him to make money off of these appearances and things like that. But this was the one where he didn't charge for it. So we're seeing, basically a good guy who's who's very much in the public spotlight because of his company and things like that. I don't know. I thought it was really great to see him in that role and really making it a point to say, this one I just can't I can't take a profit for. But if you tell anyone I said that, so this is a guy who definitely is a business person, definitely knows how to make money. I don't know. I really enjoyed kind of just seeing that quick little teaser because we don't know a whole lot about him yet. We don't know a whole lot about Al Pratt yet. These are people that we're just getting to know in the early pages of this book, which it's funny. Earth 2, we've just gotten to see one of the most pivotal events in this world. Now we're starting to get to the bread and butter of being introduced to characters that are going to be very, very important to us moving forward.
I like the fact that the Earth still has the ravages from the war.
Oh, yeah.
Time has gone on since then, but they still have some of the apocalypse pits, some of the death and destruction, and it is a process of rebuilding, and I want to see what happens there. I want to see if the heroes do step up, if the heroes do start to change the world and fix these holes, and will that lead to other problems? Will that be possible? And I don't know. There's so many different stuff that can come out of this that I'm really excited about it. I want to see these characters grow. I want to see these new heroes, to this world, and see it's that whole connection that you're talking about, that these are longtime characters. Well, we're seeing the brand new freshness to them, and my experience with them is so much limited to what you have, but by the end of those last couple JSA runs, I was a real JSA fan. And it's kind of like with the other reboot stuff where I'm really excited where these are going to go. And yeah, I've never really seen origin stories for any of the big JSA characters. I always jumped into the older characters, the old men, the characters who, have been established for a very long time. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you what the origin tales for these different heroes are. So for me, I'm getting a chance to see the origins. I'm getting to see the beginning of it, and I'm really digging this.
We end off in Lansing, Michigan with Jay Garrick. And we see Jay with Joan. Now, Joan in our previous Earth, pre-Flashpoint, was Jay's wife.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know if that relationship's doomed permanently or what's going to happen with Jay, but it's clear Jay's kind of down and out, and, he's not the most likable of fellows. He's Jay Garrick. I like him, at this point because he's Jay Garrick. But it is funny how he's kind of like this lost soul sitting on the hill, and then all of a sudden Mercury falls into place there. And I really liked that because it's a guy who clearly, Jay's kind of been lost in his life, not knowing what direction to go in and things like that, made some mistakes. Joan's kind of fed up with it, saying that like, hey, dude, you've made kind of a worthless, pit of yourself for your life. You don't have a direction yet. And I think everyone goes through that period of time in your life where you're trying to find yourself. And I relate to that with this guy. I've been there before, where my life was kind of in a standstill and stuff. And I just really related to this guy. And I'm like, he's looking for that moment, that situation. For me, it wasn't Mercury popping out of the sky. It would have been, how cool would that have been?
Oh, dude, come on.
To find a purpose in life.
Outstanding.
But that was one of the things I really liked when you see the star, kind of coming down. Boy, I want to wish upon stars on Earth too.
But you get superhuman powers, man. That's awesome.
There's a story behind the hat and everything, and why he has that I really, really like. This is a great way to introduce it, and I can't wait till next issue to see more from this. This was a complete highest possible recommendation on this book. I said it earlier, this is comic book perfection for me. This series to me is a headliner. I mean, this is right now, bam, right up there in my top 5 list. This is on my short stack. I can't wait for issue 2. This is just right there at being like, oh my gosh, amazing. I had no idea what to expect. When I knew they were rebooting these characters with the legacy and the longevity of them, I was worried until I heard that James Robinson was attached. Then I heard Nicola Scott on art. I'm like, oh, candy store. And this is exactly what it's been for me. It's just been, whoa, mind-blowingly cool. Right mix of classic with something so mind-blowingly new and cool. I just can't wait for more.
Amen. Amen.
Holy caffeine!
Once again, sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, don't forget Earth 2, number 3, regularly $2.99, 40% off, only $179. You can get that variant edition cover as well for $12. So anybody that's looking to be a variant edition collector, I love those variant edition covers. They're amazing. But if you're a completist and you want that, remember to make sure to pre-order those as well from DCBService.com, who is a Comixology digital partner. Make sure to do all of your digital shopping over at DCBService.com. Add an extra 5% off towards your DCB service order. InStockTrades.com has the Green Lantern hardcover Volume 1 called Sinestro. This collects the first 6 issues of the new ongoing series, regularly $22.99, 50% off, only $11.49. That is the deal of the week from InStockTrades.com. Jim, our next episode, we're going to finish taking a look at World's Finest number 1 and GI Combat number 1. We're also going to do a first of our check-ins with Night of the Owls. And we're going to particularly take a look at the most recent issue of Batman, number 9. We're going to take a look at Detective Comics, number 9, Batman and Robin, number 9, Batgirl, number 9, and Batwing, number 9. And we're going to talk about them casually. We're not going to do like the typical cover-to-cover because we want to make sure to kind of just do these casual check-ins along the way with Night of the Owls because it's a big, huge event, and we want to make sure to chat about the great events in all of those books. So, nice packed episode for next week. We will see you then.
Bye.
Flying through space and time, 1,000 different lifetimes. Faded for love and flaws and incredibly clear sightlines. Swinging your mace around, such a practical outlook. Helping the JSA and occasionally supporting your own book. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman. The villains are closing in, be they Thanin Guard or Egyptian. Working so hard to thwart you and Hawkgirl's mission. The odds are not on your side, and danger seems to stack up. Things would be so much easier if you would just call for backup. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see your plan and what you do to me. Hawkman, Hawkman, eagle eyes can't see.